Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup, though. Got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup, though. Got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup, though. nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. rose in my cup though. Shawty climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Shawty climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Shawty climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL, it's Wednesday night, it's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. And Jack, it's only taken us 10 rounds. We're on the 11th. It's all to play for.
Boromant goes on the inside and takes the lead on the final lap of the race. Now it's side by side between Boromant and Warner, but Boromant's got the inside.
Here in this phenomenal race, Cameron Dowd looking to take P2 in his very first PSGL F1 PC race. Incredible to say the least. You see that Putin still lead. 1.5 seconds. DRS is the name. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to PSGL. We are back here tonight. It's Japan, the Suzuka circuit, about to hit up. The sound of engines here tonight, and once again we go racing as the championship fight reaches a brand new page, a new chapter. Certainly many more fights to come. A lot of feisty drivers here about to take to the circuit here tonight as we now start to reach the tail end of the season and where all the talk around F1 esports will start. Barry Burman currently leading the way on 56 points, just ahead of Jarno Watmir, who's moved up to second and is now on 37 points as he looks to embark and close in on the title. He said it himself, it's time to go. Here, my name is, of course, George Morgan, your commentator, and alongside me, they're returning after 2 races missing. But it's always great to see him. It's Jack Canan. Jack, welcome back to PSGL, my friend.
I did pay him to say it's good to see me back. So, chat, well, I'm back again. Yay. I've been off for 2 weeks. I am very excited to be back. I have missed it, I will admit. It's been hard watching from the sideline for the past 2 weeks. But I think we're in for a good one. Japan, controversial moments over the course of a couple of seasons ago. If you've seen PSGL Twitter, you'll know the last big controversial moment we had when we had Ron R, Blakely and a couple of others mixed up in the final corner debacle there, but it was Lucas Blakely, of course, who went on to win that race. So he has the form, but he's not here this week. So himself and Wilson Hughes obviously at the McLaren Technology Centre, so will not be able to take part. So we will have somebody else possibly to add to the top of the list this week. They're the only two missing. Everyone else is here for qualifying and race tonight. But for your information, of course, we do have one penalty carrying forward from last week, which is Danny Beresnay. He is serving a qualifying ban, so he'll be taking no further part in qualifying.
No, he won't be. And naturally, that means that 19 drivers will be taken to the circuit for qualifying. Obviously, as per PSGL actually laying down obviously those suspensions as per obviously the issues that have erupted over the coming weeks. And talking about controversy, Jack, we've had lots of it. Obviously loads of talk around driving standards right now. Naturally, we have had the impact of obviously the new handling model, which has certainly given drivers, I think, a lot more confidence in making the major moves, but obviously at the expense of certainly what we could only describe as quality on the racetrack to a certain degree. We did get a huge fight at the front end, and it was a great fight at Austria. It was absolutely fantastic. Great battle between Jarno Watmir and Thomas Ronhaar. Even throw in Alfie Butcher, who, I will say it now, one of my most, I think certainly the best performance I've seen from Alfie Butcher since he stepped into PCF1. But nevertheless, the quality has to improve. Would you not agree?
Absolutely. I think that's a generally shared statement that's been going on over the past while or so. Again, it's what the game allows you to do, and it's what gets decided ultimately in the stewards' rooms. It can be a little bit, 50-50 with the stewards' inquiries. What do they allow? What don't they allow? And some cases, drivers obviously will push those limits all the time. Of course, you can imagine there was a lot of debate amongst the drivers about driving standards and about the possibility of enabling simulation damage. The drivers have been thinking about it, but ultimately it was decided to carry on because in a lot of cases, or in some cases, the sim damage is almost too sensitive, and innocent victims will get caught up in it as well. So there's been sort of an understanding in a way that they've just got certain people got to tidy up a bit more, but it doesn't take away from, I did see it last week, the fabulous fight that was on at the front. You can have good moments, but sometimes the bad overshadows the good.
Yeah, I think we do certainly get, obviously, those brilliant moments that we're so used to seeing in league racing, but when it comes down to just to the mere fabric of battling out on the track, there is obviously a line in the sand, and I do worry time and time again that drivers are overstepping that mark to a certain degree. Obviously, they want to perform to their very best for their teams. Some drivers trying to get themselves F1 eSports spots. And with the new traction handling model as well, obviously the very factor that plays, obviously that gives the drivers more confidence to attempt making the big moves. But at the same time, it can really procure really costly errors. And we've seen that certainly time and time again. And obviously, it's down to leagues now to suspend those drivers, put in those measures in place, and we have seen that response. PSGL already going to work. Danny Beresnay, of course, getting a penalty in his own right. Otis Lawrence, we've seen him get punished for issues in another league not too long ago, obviously heading around Qatar, between him and this man, Ismail Fassi, believe it or not. But still, nonetheless, this is what we have to deal with, and certainly as a community, we have to deal with it. And don't be afraid to call these things out, because naturally, it is a professional sport. We are now considered professionals in what we do. But nevertheless, looking forward to what's going to happen here tonight. Plenty of action. Qualifying now, about to get underway. And it is underway with the very fact that the drivers are now embellishing their laps on that of the intermediate tyres. The initial laps will come through, giving themselves a delta for when they then put the slick tyres on. And Fassi is going to be the first to do it.
He is indeed, so he'll bring us to the end of his lap. There was, I think, a bit of a joke between the drivers heading into this one that I think it was Marcel Kiefer was requesting the first driver who was out on the inters to destroy the bollards in the last chicane so they didn't have to deal with them. So let's see if the bollards are there next time we go by. If whoever's out on the intermediates has completed the task set by Marcel Kiefer, but it's Ismail Fassi setting the initial time, 1:31.1. So we'll see who else is going to be out on the track. Freddie Rasmussen's out on the track on the intermediates as well. Again, a less common thing we see now. We used to see almost all the drivers come out in intermediates, but not so many opting to do that. Freddie Rasmussen deciding to. Denoso also opting to do so. as well. Ishmael Fassi's on his way back in on this lap as well. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Of course, Danny Beresnay, we know he'll be starting from the back of the grid. That is a given because he's not taking part in Q1. It gives an opportunity for someone else to get through into the next parts of qualifying Q2. There is something that is messing with my head slightly though, George. We mentioned it before we came to air with the McLarens. Of course, we have Wilson Hughes, Lucas Blake at the McLaren Technology Centre. Otis Lawrence is in there. What's messing with my head is Joni Tormala in the McLaren. That's something that seems slightly wrong to me.
You'd definitely be right there, Jack. I mean, obviously, given the fact that the very nature that we expect Joni Tormala to not necessarily be nestling himself in that of the McLaren, it certainly does throw a few people off. And naturally, he's been part of the Red Bull family for such a long time. We're just so used to seeing him in those colours of navy blue and things of that nature. Of course, I've been watching him race in ESL R1 lately, and we alluded to the fact that he hasn't had that long on this game. He's only been on it for about a month and a half tops. He hasn't really had the time to certainly race on it. But I would argue that his performance, should we say, last week was quite impressive, certainly given the fact that he hadn't had the chance to get himself ingrained into the game itself. Now he has a chance, obviously one race in, experience under his belt. He will obviously still be behind a lot of these talents that have been doing this months on end, but still, I think he'll come out fighting here this time around. I'm interested to see where that McLaren goes, and he's got such a talented young teammate in Otis Lawrence, who acknowledged the incidents with Ishmael Fassi himself not too long ago, and he's looking to become a better driver as a response to it. I thought his statement was very honest, very open, and now he's here at PSGL looking to score more podiums, because you've got to remember, he's a two-time podium scorer.
Yeah, he is, and he's a former winner as well in that regard as well. So, yeah, again, this is all about improving as well for some of these young guys. This is the opportunity for them to race against these guys and learn from mistakes. You know, league racing isn't for prizes. It isn't for anything really other than honor and sort of bragging rights. So, but drivers still take it seriously, and there is obviously an element when young guys come in who are incredibly quick. They've got a massive learning curve when heading forward, and you have to remember as well, you know, Otis is 15 years old, so he's got a lot of learning. He's very young in the scale of the scale of F1 esports, and I mean we call it old. It's not really, is he? I mean, Joni Tormala has just turned 27, so that's the difference between some of these guys. And you know, Joni would be considered old in that regard, but not old, Joni. You're not old. No. I mean, I'm only just saying that because all of us are around that age as well. We're just trying to make ourselves feel better. But at the same time, you know, this is what we're going to see. Drivers are going to get younger and younger and younger. But you probably won't see that F1 esports age move because prize money. And regulations around that, but it's also maturity at the end of the day, because when you get to a high level esports competition, you can't have young guys coming in dive bombing it into every corner thinking that they're going to make it.
No, that's right, and as we look at Joni Tormala making his way out, we can't understate how impressive he was in ESL R1. He was very impressive when we saw him race at Gamers 8 in Saudi Arabia just recently. What a phenomenal overtake, first of all, at Monza he managed to pull off. 4 cars involved in that fight, including himself, making a 3-car overtake, stellar out to the Rettifilio chicane. You never see that, but they went bravely 4 wide, headed through Curva Grande, and it was this man who was on top, Joni Tormala, who, of course, so experienced, vastly experienced, and like you say, Jack, 27 years of age. No age, really. But because we have a constant stream of rotation of new talent coming through, it's constant all the time. We look at Fassi, you look at Otis, obviously who's on the precipice, I would say, of making it to the big time. Obviously, age is his only barrier, because of course you need to be 16 or above to qualify for esports. And then you've got the likes of Tom Manley as well. Jake Benham's only just started his esports career. What about the likes of Wilson Hughes as well, as we now see that Ishmael Fassi, by place grid penalty, confirming the obvious fact that we will have a restart when it comes down to it. So Danny Beresnay will be joining us for that. But yeah, like I said, lots of the young talents. Alfie Butcher, who I alluded to earlier on too. Naturally, all talents that we're looking forward to seeing, you know, in the F1 esports season in years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting every car is out on the track now, so it's getting busy. 8.5 minutes to go as we head to the towards the start of the first laps here. But it's going to get busy out on the track, of course. Relatively long-ish lap around here in Japan. 1 minute 30. 1 minute 30 on inters, but of course that time is going to get much quicker as they're going to head onto soft tires now to start these next runs, and it will be Joni Tormola who will get us underway for the first proper laps of Q1 as he heads round to begin his lap around Suzuka. I mean, the track is steeped in so much history, and heads down towards turn 1. And this is fantastic, this first section. A lot of drivers' favourite, so flowing, chucks it into turn 1. Doesn't even lift until he gets to the second part of turn 2, then it heads up towards the Senna S's. Then this must be an amazing feeling in an actual F1 car with so much downforce underneath you. Flicking it round, 240 kph average through there, and then coming rising up the hill towards Degner's 1 and Degner's 2 as he heads towards that sector now. You get the first split, flicks it into the first Degner, he mounts the curb as well, and this is almost blink and you miss it in that first section there, and then heads up into now the hairpin, the slowest corner on the circuit. And again, the camber so important there. You got to get it turned into the early part of that hairpin to let the camber bring you all the way around. And then we head down towards Spoon. Of course, it's a good place to make some overtakes if you're brave enough. Chucks it into the left, then runs it out wide. Very easy place to invalidate a lap there as well. Then down towards 130R, the most well-known corner, probably in F1 as well. 130R. We've seen guys brave it side by side through this corner before. Hasn't ended particularly well. And then down towards the Casio triangle for the end of this lap. Now chucks it in, hits the curb on the right, hits the curb on the left, back on the power. Very easy to lose the rear end here, and then runs to the line, the shortest path to the line there, and it's a 126.2 for Joni Tormola, and that is a lap around Suzuka. That's how quickly it goes as Rasmussen goes to the top.
Yeah, Freddie Rasmussen, purple, what was purple in the first sector. That was stolen by Barry Burman, who was purple in the first and second sector, though he's just had the first sector taken away by Thomas Ronhaar as well. Barry Burman goes to the top, followed by his teammate Nicholas Longuet, who goes second fastest, a 126.152. Estella showing in the immediate bar. Current championship leader pushing to win the title as Otis Lawrence now crosses the line, goes second fastest. Shanaka Clay going fourth fastest as well. His teammate about to come across the line. Ishmael Fassi goes fourth fastest. More and more cars coming across the line as well. I can also point out that, of course, Nicholas Longuet was in fact fastest in that third sector, but Alfie Butcher second fastest and two purple sectors, but Brendan Lee, who is now in the third sector himself, is showing purple as well in his own right. He's not alone. Luke Smith has just stolen it away from him. The track heating up as time goes on as Thomas Ronhaar goes to the top. Here comes his teammate Brendan Lee, second fastest, a 1-2 for Alfa Romeo, as we now follow that of Jake Benham, despite going purple in sector 2, only enough for 8th fastest.
Yeah, no invalidations on those laps either. Ronhaar and Lee, how close do you want it? 25.95 for Ronhaar, 25.99 for Brendan Lee. Also a 25.99 for Barry Burman, 4 thousandths of a second between them. And they're the only three to get themselves into the 25s. Everyone else not able to do so, but impressive showing from the Alfa Romeos in this early part of Q1. Barry Burman, of course, up there as you would expect him to be. Alfie Butcher right in the mix as well. Great to see. Fabrizio Donoso, Otmir, Otis Lawrence, Jake Benham, Nicholas Longuet, and Istvan Pukki, the top 10. In the drop zone at the moment is Marcel Kiefer, Joni Tormola, Ruben Pedreño, and Luke Smith. And Marcel Kiefer is only out because he did the time second to Tom Manley. It's the same time as separating him from being in or out in Q1 here. 26.260 is that. So Marcel Kiefer, Joni Tormola, Ruben Pedreño, and Luke Smith currently out in the drop zone, but it is incredibly close, as you would expect. The cutoff time at the moment is a 26.2. The fastest time is a 25.9. So it's only over 0.2 of a second separating first down to the drop zone at the moment.
Yeah, incredible. And have a look at that at the very top. Mere hundredths just separating Thomas Ronhaar and Brendan Lee right now. 1-2 for the two at Alfa Romeo as he now cruises on his in-lap now. And then he'll give him one last chance. So I don't imagine he'll come out again, to be honest. He'll be safe as houses, I think, right at the top end. we'll wait and see if he retires. I mean, Brendan Lee in second, just behind as well. Very good opening run for Alfa Romeo. Both drivers, incidentally, race winners this season as well. Thomas Ronha, our latest race winner after taking the victory in that gargantuan duel between him and Jarno Watmir. We speak about the history between those two talents, Jack Kinnan. They are great pilots, great drivers, certainly tremendous at what they do, and naturally delivering a clinic. And I think what we can all say, despite what goes on during the racing, despite all that's been said, when those two get together on the track, it's magic.
Really is great entertainment across the board. So as you would sort of rightly predict, Ronnar, Lee and Borman, they are all safe, and I would agree with them, on a 25.9. Butcher as well, he feels he might be safe on a 26.055. So now we'll see if anybody else decides to come out. Otis Lawrence has come back out, and he is on a 26.1. So let's see if Donoso and Otmir decide to come out. I'd imagine Otmir would need to come out again, but again, we'll wait and see, because we've had it before where guys have sort of thrown caution to the wind and decided to retire. One man who hasn't decided to retire is Nicholas Longe, because that's backfired on him multiple times before for Nicholas Longe. So he's come back out again, 26.152. It's because that mid pack is so tight, because you've got a 26.10 for Jarno Watmir, and that's down to 13th. You've got Freddie Rasmussen on a 26.18, so 800ths separating 7 drivers there. So that's again a 1/10 of a second, and you gain. You could see yourself safe or out. That is the gap that we've got going on here. So Otmir's back out on the track. No sign of Donoso yet, and Ishmael Fassi's picked up a second illegal blocking penalty. Don't worry, folks, that will get removed because we're going to have a restart afterwards. But we will see. Jarno Watmir is back out, but no sign of Donoso moving just yet. So is he going to wait to leave it late, or what is he? He's actually not going to make it round if he doesn't come out in the next couple of seconds. But I don't see any movement at Aston Martin just yet, so it might be a bit of a tense wait for Fabrizio Donoso.
Well, he'd have to put in a qualifying lap now to make it happen, essentially, because 125 laid on the board for Thomas Ronnar. We've now breached that, so Fabrizio Donoso will not be setting another lap this session, but he is only 23 thousandths outside Alfie Butcher's time. But take a look at the very bottom. Luke Smith, in his own time, just below 4/10 of a second, and he's at the bottom of the tree behind Thomas Ronnar as a result. That is just how close all these drivers are together, and Joni Tormela, bidding to lift himself off the bottom, is about to get himself underway as well in all new colours in the McLaren. Don't worry, folks, he hasn't signed for him. He is still very much part of the Red Bull team. Driving for the AlphaTauri usually is Josh Ito, also picks up a 5-place grid penalty. Plenty of cars now out on hot laps. Nicholas Longe also out on one, who is actually showing some incredible pace, certainly at the very start of his prior hot lap. Let's see what he can do here.
Absolutely, isn't it? So we've got Joni Tormela behind. We've got Nicholas Longe on his lap. He's 700ths of a second up, so that'll rocket him up to about Donoso territory. So he's on a good one here, is Nicholas Longe, and would see himself safe if he finishes this lap right here round the hairpin. Heads up then towards Spoon Curve. So we've got lots to keep our eyes on here. We've got basically everyone from 6th down to 19th on laps at the moment. Donoso has not come out onto the circuit, so we'll see now. He's got to wait and hope that everyone else behind him doesn't improve. Longe looking good through Spoon Curve, heading down towards 130R now, flat out as he chucks his Ferrari to try and get himself down into the next part of qualifying. 10th and a half up and purple in the middle sector for Nicholas Longe. This is very tidy from the Frenchman so far. All he needs to do is not invalidate in this last 2 corners here. Very nice through the Casio triangle, back on the power, heads down towards the line now. This is very good from Nicholas Longe, crosses the line, second fastest, another 25.9. That's him safe.
Yeah, Otis Lawrence has just taken that purple first sector as well, so watch out for one of the papayas at least. A 38.869 in the middle sector is also very good for Otis Lawrence, heading out of Casio triangle himself now. Of course, at the very sharp end, he's going to try and usurp Thomas Ronha with a stellar lap. Not quite. Lost it all in the final sector, and now he sees himself P9. More cars making their way through as well, including that of Istvan Pukki, who's also trying to find improvements. He's registered a 38.12 in the first sector, a 38.783 in sector 2 himself as well, as now we see a purple sector from Jarno Watmir as well, also making his way up towards the line. Can the Flying Dutch... Oh, goodness me, he's safe.
Yeah, braked himself.
He is safe, though. He is safe. He's not going to lose out. Jake Benham in 15th place as well. Jarno Watmere purple in the second sector, but makes a mistake coming through Casio. It won't affect it because he is just on the bubble of elimination, but is safe. 2 Mercedes going through. Jake Benham now up to 10th fastest. No one could beat Thomas Ronhaar's time. Longo got close. He was 12 thousandths out.
Oh, Jarno will be breathing a sigh of relief, won't he? Just 26.109. And he makes it in, though, as do both the Mercedes. 2,000 separating them. But Ronhaar, with the initial lap, gets himself through, as does Brendan Lee and Barry Borman and Alfie Butchers. They're all gone through on one single run. But great stuff from all those guys there. But that was incredibly tight once again here in Japan. We'll see what the gap is down. You can see Thomas Ronhaar setting the pace. And down to the drop zone, it is a 10.5 from pole, well, sort of pole position down to Jarno Watmere, and then the whole field separated by 0.3 of a second. Incredibly close. But we lose Ishmael Fassi, we lose Luke Smith, Tom Manley, and Ruben Pedreño, and of course we have Danny Beresnay starting from the back of the field because he is serving a quality bound. But I think, George, one man who'd be very happy is Joni Tormala sailed through in the end. Yeah, he did. Very convincing run. 8th fastest, and in Q1, whilst it doesn't decide what the grid certainly consists of, sitting up at the sharp end, being just outside of 10th when you've only been, should we say, on the platform for a short amount of time is so impressive. But nevertheless, we look forward to seeing how he gets on in Q2. I would say, actually, I would say the major players that we wouldn't necessarily expect to get into Q2 generally did. I don't think there was some immense shocks towards the end of all this, but still nonetheless plenty to fight for. Good news for Williams, and Shanaka Clay on his return also makes his way into Q2 as well. Plenty of other names to watch. Jake Benham putting in that really decent last run, getting himself into the top 10. I think that is obviously very important. Of course, Jake Benham himself fighting for a seat in esports, because that Mercedes seat, you know, certainly the second seat alongside Otmir, so much competition around that right now. Beresnay back to, should we say, his previous best. He is fighting for podiums and top quality performances as well here in PSGL this season. He's rarely been outside the top 5. I think there's only been one occasion, or maybe 2 in fact. I think he's finished 5 out of the 7 in the top 5. That is a true measure of consistency right there. And Marcel Kiefer also looking to fight for a place, and he certainly is a favourite for many. And not only that, Benham's got to try and take these guys on. It's going to be so tough for him to solidify his place at a camp like Mercedes. It is. And, well, you know, Marcel Kiefer, he has done well this season. He has a pole position, let's not forget. Pulled out an incredible lap in Hungary, but wasn't able to convert it in the end. So we have to wait and see. I mean, we haven't had either Mercedes driver on the top step of the podium this season, but we have got a pole position. Jarno Watmere has been so consistent this season, but is yet to stand on the top step of the podium yet. But will he be able to convert it today? Let's wait and see. But if he doesn't win this season, of course, it'll be the only season that he hasn't stood on the top step of the podium, which tells you enough about the consistency of the Flying Dutchman as well. So we'll see if he can do so. But he's through to Q2, that's the main thing. And his teammate as well, both Mercedes making it through. Both Ferraris as well, making it through. Both of the Astons, but only the sole Williams makes it through. Shanaka Clay, of course, who did take a win, but of course the win was voided after all the issues with the tyres a couple of races ago. It feels like so long ago now when we had all those issues back then. But we will get ourselves underway for Q2 and expect these runs to be on used sets of the soft compound tyre, of course, saving tyres for the next run. Some may opt not to. You may see drivers just staying in the pits for the next while or so. And we'll see how this gets on. But I think you're right. This is, I think, for this Q2, I think this is the most unsurprising lineup so far this year.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Istvan Pukki, even so. I mean, I have to say I've been very impressed with him. He took 2 very good race wins in 2 different leagues last year. Of course, one of them being PSGL. That being on the F1 22 game when the obviously the handling model, should we say, was a lot trickier to deal with. And the drivers really had to be quite careful with their application of power out on track, as we now see Jake Benham coming through Degner 1 and Degner 2. He's got the hairpin heading up to the top of the hill as well, needs to prime his braking point to the absolute precise location, and does so brilliantly. Now back on the throttle as he now heads through towards 230R. Now this next right-hander before they're venturing through towards Smooth Curve. Unfamiliar colours as well for Jake Benham, because of course we usually see him in Mercedes, has been donning the AlphaTauri though all season long here at PSGL, but this will not be the car he utilises in F1 Esports. Makes his way now down through towards 130R itself, under the gantry, and makes his way down towards the Casio Triangle chicane. Through 130R now, very fast paced here at this point now, and Jake Benham is going to be the first to set his benchmark time on the board. I will say this though, Shanaka Clay, fastest of anybody in the first sector. Alfie Butcher has just taken the purple second sector as well, but Benham instantly into the pits, not happy with his lap. Here comes Shanaka Clay up towards the line of 126.315. Used tyres for sure for that of Shanaka Clay, but still holds on to the fastest lap as Alfie Butcher comes across the line in second fastest.
Yeah, good effort on used tyres, you have to say, 26.3. So we'll see how everyone else stacks up on the used set. Donoso has invalidated his run, so he'll probably be coming straight into the pits. No, he's going to carry on and finish out and come back. So that'll be, it would have been a 26.6 for Fabrizio Donoso. So very close between Shanaka Clay and Alfie Butcher, 26.3. Used sets on those cars, so we haven't had many decide to come out anyway. So now we'll have a little bit of a lull in proceedings while we wait for the drivers to appear out on new tyres. So we'll see now how things progress, but it will be interesting to see who gets through to Q3, because it's incredibly competitive to get into Q2 in the first place. So again, it's anybody's guess who's going to get through into Q3 and who's going to take pole. It's going to be very, very tight, but Alfa Romeos are hitting their stride. Ron Aram and Brandon Lee both with a win this season now. They're, of course, full of confidence heading through into this race, and they seem to be working well together.
Yeah, definitely. And it's all about relationships when it comes down to teams as well in the world of F1 esports. Naturally, you have to corroborate with each other. And, you know, you look at it with the likes of Otmir, Benham, they have a great relationship, obviously partake in the two-player career mode side of things. Many other talents as well do exactly the same thing as well. We speak about Longay and Barry Burramand. Of course, that's a partnership that came to fruition towards the end of the F1 22 game cycle. We saw how strong that certainly was. And I think personalities like Marcel Kiefer, who is always a positive person, at the same time, though, he does have a very opinionated aspect on the world of league racing, and very outspoken on social media as well. And that just goes to show how competitive he is, though. He wants to be considered superior to his, not just his teammates, but also the competitors he's up against as well. And being part of that Mercedes camp that has obviously done so well to win world championships with the likes of Brendan Lee back in 2018. Yardo Otmir, of course, would lay claim to their second title as in terms of the Drivers' Championship in his second occasion of winning it. Kiefer wants to follow suit. You know, he's moved across from Red Bull. He knows what Mercedes expect, and he certainly doesn't want to disappoint because he is just that talented.
It is, yeah, he is. I mean, he's an incredibly talented guy, and as well, we like characters like him in that, you know, he speaks his mind. We have, you know, it's always fun to see guys, you know, speak what they want in a way. And Marcel, of course, has been very outspoken on driving standards, etc. And again, he is hitting his stride. I think, you know, I keep coming back to that pole position in Hungary, where it shocked all of us at taking it. Of course, wasn't able to convert it in the end, but it was great to see him up at the front end again on the front row, like we've seen before. So I'm sure it would have given him a great confidence boost heading into the next part of the season. But we've got lots of outlaps now, and you can expect these to be fast runs for these guys, as Marcel Kiefer will get us underway for these. Every car is out on the circuit now, so Kiefer gets us underway for the next part of Q2. We'll see if he can get himself into Q3.
Yeah. As he crosses the line, opens up the DRS, heads down towards turn one as well. And want to try and nestle the car in tight, take the wide line then, heading back through to the inside, clipping all curbs on entrance and exit. You do try and avoid the inside curb when heading through turn one, because it can result in loss of the car as they head now through the snake section up the hill now. Marcel Kiefer looking to try and enlist himself back to the sharp end. No stranger at picking up big results. He's certainly a very sensational qualifier. Actually has one pole position to his name this season to boot as well. And already setting that benchmark purple lap in, well, purple first sector, should I say, on this lap. 30.7. It's immediately stolen, though, by Barry Burramand, who currently sits 7th, yet to enlist his first lap time. Of course, this will be the first of two that these drivers take. Shanaka Clay and Alfie Butcher not wasting any time and heading out initially, which caused traffic for Marcel Kiefer as well, with an Aston Martin making its way around. That, of course, being Fabrizio Donoso, who was about to make his way down towards the Casio Triangle. Hopefully that did not hinder Marcel Kiefer too much. Otis Lawrence has just stolen that purple first sector as well, away from Barry Burman. So do not count out the young Welshman, who's looking to also bring his talents to the forefront. Kiefer, second sector purple yet again, as he makes his way through the Casio Triangle chicane now, makes his way out to the final corner and heads down towards the line. Kiefer looking to topple Shanaka Clay, does so with a 126 dead flat, but there are more times coming through, very fast ones as well. But Ronha, who is currently purple in the second sector as well. Otis Lawrence down in 13th, also looking to enlist his lap as Nicolas Longuet goes fastest of all.
A lap from Longuet, fastest so far, 25.772. Great lap from Nicolas Longuet, and a great one as well from Rasmussen, 25.8 to slot in behind Barry Borman. But epic lap so far from Nicolas Longuet on the first attempt. Otis Lawrence, 25.9 on his first attempt. Still more to come though. Brendan Lee coming out of the final corner, gets a bit of a squirm on through the final corner, but goes third fastest, 25.8. Ronard will be coming next across the line, 25.8 as well. And we still have a couple more cars still to come with Jake Benham and Donoso. So Benham coming through the Casio Triangle now, heading out to the final corner, comes down towards the start-finish line. A winner from this season crosses the line, 26.2, makes his way into Q3 provisionally now. But statement from Nicolas Longuet, 10th up on everybody.
Yeah, he was, and he also held the purple second and third sector for a time as well. Ron Haas stole that purple third sector with a 16.338 in that final sector alone. Fabrizio Donoso currently on a fast run to 30.8 in the first sector, is certainly reasonably quick and definitely is going to be relatively competitive. At 39.055 is slightly off the better times that we have seen as he now makes his way through the Casio Triangle, but invalidation heading through the final sector has certainly hindered his lap and now comes into the pits and will unfortunately not set this lap.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame for him there, but he does have a second run in this one. So again, he does have a chance to go again, but great stuff from Nicolas Longuet. He'll take some great confidence from that. But it's two Ferraris lead two Alphas in this part of qualifying. But how about 3,000s between three drivers? I like the sight of that. Borman, Ronar and Brendan Lee separated by 3 1,000ths of a second. And then just a couple of hundredths back is Freddie Rasmussen. Shanaka Clay up inside the top 10 as well. And then you have Otis Lawrence, Jarno Opmeer, Marcel Kiefer, and Joni Tormala, who snuck himself into a cheeky Q3 at the moment, if he manages to stay. So we'll see how this goes. But very interesting qualifying so far. But confidence builder for Nicolas Longuet. It's been a while since we've seen Longuet up there.
I just love how in sync Thomas Ronha and Brendan Lee are. And if you factor in Barry Burman as well, the plus delta against that of Longuet and Burman, 0.092 for Burman, 0.093 for Thomas Ronha, 0.094 from Brendan Lee. And that is second, third and fourth. So they're differing by 1,000th each time. They go up by 1,000th each time from second to fourth. That is spooky, and it just so happens that the two Alfa Romeo teammates are dialed in there as well. Incredible to see. But yeah, looking at the top five, Freddie Rasmussen just outside, 6,000ths outside of being within the 10th of a second of the top five, and it would mean that all the top five would be within a 10th of a second, but it's only the top four at this point. Shanaka Clay in 6th, and also just outside that 10th of a second, 17 thousandths away from that fact, with Otis Lawrence in behind him. Jarno Opmeer and Marcel Kiefer, should they stay where they are, will go through to Q3, but they will need to put in some belters when heading out on these final runs as well. Joni Tormala, once again, the trend continues. He's out. He's one of the drivers out first. East Van Pookie not far behind either. The big question is, can they get themselves through? Joni Tormala once again impressing. He's currently in the top 10. Can he stay there?
It'll be his first Q3 appearance for this season for Joni Tormala if he manages to stay there. But he's got a mammoth task ahead of him because he's got Istvan Pukki, Josh Ito, Fabrizio Donoso, who haven't set representative times yet. So let's see if he can stay there, or has he got more? Let's see if Tormala can improve on a 26.0. See if he can dip into the 25s. He'll be happy if he can as we head down towards the end of Q2. This is sort of the business end now, and if you get yourself through, this is an incredibly competitive parts of the session. and getting through to Q3 in any PSGL race is certainly an achievement, but I think this evening was particularly difficult to get through. Of course, we're only missing the likes of Lucas Blakely and Wilson Hughes this evening, so it's again all heavy hitters, and we'll see who can sneak themselves through into Q3 and fight for pole position here at the Japanese Grand Prix. Of course, approaching the sort of climax of the championship. Big couple of rounds coming now as Tormula picks himself up a grid penalty. Well, there you go. As he, of course, goes around. We are having a lobby restart, don't forget. But business end of the season, Barry Borman leading the championship by 19 points heading into this round. And he, of course, wants to try and extend that lead. Jarno, of course, needs to start closing that gap as we head through into the next half of this season. But we'll see now. You can see why Tormula picked up those penalties. He's got a car close to him who's also driving slowly, but apparently that's a 5-place grid penalty for illegal blocking. He's picked up 2 of them. But don't worry, we are, of course, resetting the grid after Q3 as we head now. As Tormula will get us underway for the next part of this session. Gets a bit of a wiggle coming through. Might compromise him slightly, but he'll head down and try and go all guns blazing for a Q3 appearance.
Yeah, absolutely. Joni Tormula getting them underway. Remember, he is right on the bubble of elimination, though if it stays like this, he'll be making his way into Q3. And as you so rightly said, Jack, for the first time this season as well, Tormula looking to dial himself in, heading through the snake section, the slalom, as he now climbs the hill and makes his way through towards the next left-hander before then tackling the 2 Degners. The 2 double right-handers that then, of course, lead you up towards the hairpin bend before taking the 230R. Tormula, you see him whipping through the first Degner, now through the second. Slightly more control through the second one. You want to be careful. Certainly apply that brake pressure just gently as he now makes his way through the hairpin bend, down shifting, and then straight back up again as Neo looks to make his way through the 230R. Full power now as he makes his way up through towards Spoon Curve. Again, you want to try and hook this one just right. Your exit is so... well, essential to a good exit is a good entry, and Tormula looking very nicely dialed in. Not purple, though, in the first sector. The second sector as well. We're still waiting for the time to come through. Very shortly, we will see it. Of course, a 30.9 in that first sector, already up on his time as well. Just over a tenth of a second, nearly 1.5 tenths. In fact, according to the track map, purple in that first sector. The question is, can he nestle this in as he comes out of the Casio Triangle chicane now for the final time here in Q2? Joni Tormula bidding to improve. 5th fastest there from Joni Tormula, and that's not a bad way to start.
Great effort from him there as Istvan Pukki goes second fastest again. The dark horse always, Istvan Pukki in that Mercedes. Then we got Marcel Kiefer popping up second fastest. Next up across the line is Barry Borman, almost matches his teammate, does a 25.7. Now it's getting interesting. Otis Lawrence on the bubble is 2 tenths up on his best time. This is a great lap from Otis Lawrence, fastest in Q2 for the moment as we cross the line for more laps now. Donoso is going to be not going to make it in this part, but Brendan Lee pulls a 25.6 to go fastest in Q2. Next up, Ido does not make it, gets knocked out, but Shinaka Clay with the same time as him makes it through. Rasmussen will make it through. Jarno Watmir is next across the line in just a few seconds. Will he make his way through? Yes, he does. Second fastest for Jarno Watmir as he crosses the line there. More still to come. Ronar will make it and go 3rd fastest, and Istvan Pukki will make it. So Joni Tormula just misses out.
Yeah,
on Q3 appearance, 11th fastest. But how about that top 2?
Unfortunately there for Alfie Butcher, out in 14th place as well. He'll be a little disappointed, but Brendan Lee, fastest by 46 thousandths of a second. To that of Jarno Watmir, 2nd fastest. And Thomas Ronhar, 3rd as well. Otis Lawrence, a stellar run. Just look at those times, folks. All within a tenth of a second from P1 down to P6. Barry Burman in 7th. Marcel Kiefer in 8th. Jake Benham, 9th. Istvan Pukki in 10th. Joni Tormula, 11th, Shinaka Clay 12th, Josh Ido 13th, Alfie Butcher 14th, Fabrizio Donoso down in 15th place, will not be going through. Tormula, Clay, Ido, Butcher and Donoso all out. A few shocks there, Jack Canan.
Certainly think so, yeah. I think Shinaka Clay, Josh Ido at the same exact time don't make it through, so they'll be disappointed with that. But Istvan Pukki, what can you say about him? He's always thereabouts, just sort of simmering in the background, and comes out with a lap to get himself through into simmering. Q3, of course. Simmering, yeah. He's obviously he's won on previous occasions in PSGL from absolutely nowhere in previous times. So watch out for Istvan Pukki into Q3. Jake Benham, consistent as well, gets himself through. And well, we've got some shootout for pole here because I'm looking at the names in here. and this is star-studded.
It is, and very shortly we will be getting underway, folks. Sit tight. Of course, there will be more to come. Obviously, as we await the drivers to certainly sort themselves out, obviously, in terms of who's going to take pole at this point, folks, we want to hear from you at home. Let us know in the live chat who is going to take pole position here on the run-up to the race. Let us know. Jack, from your assessment, we have seen quite a few different drivers up at the sharp end. This could be the most jumbled fight for P1 I think we might have seen this season.
Yeah, I think so. It's a very hard one to predict here, but I'm gonna lock my prediction in at Brendan Lee. I'm liking the look of it. He's the only man in the 25.6, so I'm gonna go Brendan Lee.
Goodness me. Well, there you go. That's the word from Jack Canan. I'm not quite sure where we're going to see certainly the top time just yet, because of course we saw Brendan Lee going to the top, as you so rightly say. We got Jarno getting in close, Barry, obviously, who is arguably the form card when it comes down to certainly, you know, taking pole positions. He's certainly up there. Lucas Blakely we've seen in the past, but of course he's not racing tonight, so naturally Barry might be one to watch. Ronar has shown glimpses too of pace. I mean, we've seen obviously him, you know, take pole positions in the past. He was pulling off some purple laps earlier on in the session. Otis Lawrence has been superb. I mean, you know, could it be the case where you can see the youngster who's looking to try and shine and make his way through to the top end? Could Otis Lawrence take pole?
I mean, because of possibility. I mean, realistically, any of these guys could spring a surprise because they're all within a tenth of a second of each other. It was a tenth and a half between being at the top and being at the bottom of the top 10. So it's really anyone's game, but it's going to be really intriguing. Probably one of the most intriguing qualifyings. You've got all of your heavy hitters in here. You've got the championship leader Barry Borman, Jarno Watmir, who's second in the championship as well. You've got both Mercedes, both Ferraris, both Alfa Romeos making it through in this part of qualifying as well. And Freddie Rasmussen, do you know, I'm not going to count him out either, because he's really, whenever Rasmussen has taken pole, he's taken it by not topping a session previously. So don't count out the Dane.
No, I think it'd be rude to count out the Dane at this point, Jack. 4 years on the spin in F1 Esports, Freddie Rasmussen has not been outside the top 3 in a single championship, and only one time did he finish third. He finished second year on year. Of course, 2022, 2021, 2020, 2019 he finished third. You know, he's been part of the Red Bull fabric now for such a long time. Can I just say, Timo, no chance of me taking pole, my friend. I would give it my all, but I'd be lucky to even make it around. I mean, they'll probably lap me in qualifying, to be honest. That goes to show how good I am when it comes to this standard of racing. Trust me, Jack, you'd be interested to know this. In fact, there was one time I raced against Jarno Watmir on the F1 game, and never again, because he gave me a head start of 2 to 3 laps. He had to be lapped by lap 2. It was just unbelievable. The man is just
skill issue.
Skill issue. Yeah, the skill issue is the fact that he's just too darn good. It's not the fact that I'm too darn. It's not that I'm rubbish. It's the fact that he's so amazing. I'll give him credit where credit's due, man.
Yeah, absolutely. He's not a two-time champ for no reason.
No, not at all.
Regard.
There might have been some crashes involved as well. Some dirty driving on my part.
Well, there you go. He'll do anything to win, this George Morgan character. But in the meantime, let's get Q3 underway as we head across the start-finish line. You can expect some of these might be used, some of these might be new. We'll know at the end of the laps for sure. But Istvan Pukki, what an effort from him. What a week he's having as well from previous races. Well, whenever he hits a form, he goes on a streak. It's happened previously. He took a win in Jeddah in PSGL last season, and of course then went on to win in WR the same week. Of course, he's only just taken a victory in WR as well. So can he carry it forward again, reverse?
Well, you never know. I mean, I'd give him every chance as we now see Pukki make his way through towards the next double right-hander. Now we got every car now looking to produce here for pole position. Let us know in the live chat, as I alluded to. We will read through your selections as to who you think is going to claim pole. Is it going to be the case that Barry Burman gets one step closer to clinching that title? I can tell you this, his teammate, however, has just gone purple in the first sector. Nicholas Longue registering a 30, but it has just been stolen by his teammate Barry Burman, the championship leader, a 30.6 in the first sector. It's looking good. As we now read through some of the names, Otmir, Jarno, again, Otmir maybe, Jarno, Longe. But go on, Jarno. Longe, incredible. Lots of vibes for Jarno Otmir, some for Nicholas Longe. We're getting some Thomas Ronar, some Freddie, some Barrys, Binhams as well. A variant certainly where the names are concerned. Pookie is invalidated at this point, but we will be seeing Nicholas Longe, who's just gone purple in the second sector, come up towards the line. Some of you who have picked him for pole, I tell you what, you're going to have a half smile on your face when he certainly does that. Freddie Rasmussen sets a 1:26.066. Longe should improve, does improve, and gets into the 25.60s already, and he's not waiting around, and neither is his teammate. Purple in the first and second sector for Barry Burman, and it certainly is a P1 lap, a 1:25.531, but he still didn't take the purple third sector, but his teammate did. It's all Ferrari. They are purple throughout the Suzuka circuit.
What a lap. Here come the Alphas now. How do they respond? Brendan Lee, 25.6. Here comes Ronar. What's he got? 25.6 as well. So the only man who's in the 25.5s at the moment is Barry Borman. Has got almost a 10th in hand. That is an unbelievable first lap from Barry Borman. So now we've got to wait and see what's Jarno Otmir got. Has he got more? He's got a 25.9 for the moment. That could possibly be on a used set of tyres, or wasn't a hooked up lap in the end. But wow, that's an incredible first effort from Barry Bormand and Nicholas Longe. Again, 2 Ferraris lead 2 Alfa Romeos. Is this a story of F1 esports being previewed?
It could well be, Jack. I mean, we spoke about the fact that Barry Burman, Nicholas Longe, that is a sheer power play by the Scuderia. You know, having 2 drivers like that, Nicholas Longe, of course, a bit of a journeyman in the sport. We saw him, of course, debut in the Red Bull family. He's since then moved, went across to Renault. Of course, being French team, it seemed like a match made in heaven. But now, since stepping in to that of Ferrari, and obviously off the back of a stellar career so far, the likes of Nicholas Longe, he is certainly a tenacious character. But then to have the back then of Barry Burman as well, you've got 2 drivers that are very capable of performing well. A 1-2 for Ferrari is something we have seldom seen in real life F1, despite them chasing it with the likes of Charles Leclerc and that of Carlos Sainz. But looking back at the years of Schumacher, Irvine, not to mention Barrichello as well, Ferrari have a rich pedigree in nestling drivers in positions P1 and 2. Barry Burman, Nicholas Longe, bringing that very feat back here this time at Suzuka.
Absolutely, and Nicholas Longe again is settling in with his pace now. He's about 0.08 of a second off Borman. So has not Longe got a 25.5 in him? Has Borman got more is the question, because he puts in those quick laps straight away, but he always finds a little bit more on that second attempt as well. That gives him as well, when you put in a sort of really quick first lap, that gives you a delta to aim for in the second lap, so you can really push the limits, knowing you've put in a really good lap the first time. But now, 3 and a bit minutes left on the clock. Now's the time to lock in the predictions. And well, currently we have a runaway winner in Barry Borman currently. But let's see, can anybody else match him? Can anyone get close? We've got guys, Freddie Rasmussen on 26.0. That, I'm sure he's got more in the tank. Same for Otis Lawrence, same for Marcel Kiefer. All of these guys surely have got 25s in them, so this could get close. Istvan Pukki, we know, didn't finish his lap, so we'll see if he can put one together in this last part of qualifying. He will be the first car to roll out onto the circuit, so can he do it? He's in Q3 anyway, he'll be happy to get through, but I'm sure he'll want a little bit more than that, but this is the fun part now.
It is, and squeaky bum time is upon us in Q3, folks. It is now down to the final 2 minutes and 45 seconds here in qualifying, of course. Quite a lengthy part of that, quite a lengthy portion, should I say, will be spent under the outlap, and naturally that's where the drivers will look to optimize the tyres. The track should be at optimal temperature. It's currently sitting at 26 degrees right now, which is generally where we see it at this point as well. 18 degrees in the air temp, so it's now down to the drivers to try and give themselves the best start possible to this flying run. Of course, Istvan Pukki currently sat 10th fastest, the only driver yet to post a lap as Otis Lawrence gets penalised for a 5-place grid penalty for illegal blocking. That, of course, will be reset when we restart the race later on after qualifying. Barry Burman now, a 1:25.531. That's a stellar lap to open things up here, Jack. We very rarely see laps like that in the opening runs. Of course, Q2's fastest time, a 1:25.772. Longuet also in the precipice. You look at that top four already in the initial runs in Q3, managing to smash the fastest lap in Q2. The fact that they're setting 1:25.5s, 1:25.60s, right off the bat, that is extraordinary and certainly a stellar way to start.
It is, yeah. So now we'll see who's got more. Can anyone else beat Barry Borman to yet another pole position? He has the most pole positions of anybody in PSGL, and we'll see if he can add another to his tally this season and continue to strengthen his grip on the championship. He's got 19 points over Jarno Watmir at the moment, and he could continue to extend that lead going into this next race. But of course, he's got to, finish the race. He's got to make sure that everything's in place as we head through to begin the final laps of Q3. Istvan Pukki will get us underway then for the shootout for pole for the Japanese Grand Prix here at Premier's MGL. Will cross the line to begin another lap. So Istvan Pukki, of course, he invalidated his first time, so he will now, of course, go purple in every sector for him, but we'll not know what sort of pace he's on until we get to the end. But he's going all guns blazing because, of course, he's happy to be through to Q3. Did it by the skin of his teeth, and anything more than a top 10 will be a great result for him.
Yeah, is a race winner at the top level here at PSGL. I hark back to his famous victory at Spa-Francorchamps. We, of course, had mixed weather conditions on that occasion. Pukki hasn't set a lap time. He invalidated his first run, that, of course, being a 1:26.877, but did not register because, of course, it was invalidated. Making his way up through towards the hairpin bend now and looking to now put the foot to the floor, making his way now up towards Spoon Curve 2. Of course, now they've got to try and unseat Ferrari. That's the mission of every other driver on this circuit. That's the story of Suzuka, certainly here in qualifying. Istvan Pukki, 31.131 in the first sector is less than ideal. He's going to have to look to try and usurp that here on this occasion. This is looking like a positive run so far, though, for Pukki, as he now looks to try and enlist a better time out of Sector 2. Purple he is. Coming out of Sector 2, he registered a 30.748 in the first sector, so Pukki is on a rise. A little slide of the rear, heading through the Casio Triangle chicane as he now makes his way down the long straight. I can tell you, though, that Longuet has taken the purple second sector. It's 5th place for Istvan Pukki. Longuet now comes up towards the line and takes P1 immediately at 25.4 to set us on our way. And now Otis Lawrence is now going to be the next man as he comes through Casio.
Oh, brilliant effort from Nicholas Longuet. Could this be the pullout? Otis Lawrence loses the rear. Coming out of the last two corners there, crosses the line, goes 7th fastest. Here comes Barry Borman. He doesn't take pole. Longuet beats him to it, but there's still more laps to come here. Couple more cars still to cross the line. Kiefer goes 4th fastest. Here come the Alphas of Brendan Lee. It's Brendan Lee who steals pole at the death. Ronner doesn't do it. Brendan Lee, for the moment, is on provisional pole. Jarno Watmir steals P10. Here comes Freddie Rasmussen. Does he do it? It's P8 for him. Jake Benham crosses the line and doesn't take it. It's Brendan Lee who steals pole at the very end and will start on pole for the Japanese Grand Prix. And I just want to point out, I got it right, guys.
You got it spot on, Jack Canan. I tell you what, stellar showing from Brendan Lee. The two-time F1 Esports champion is back at the top again. He took victory at Qatar. He is now back here at PSGL with a pole position 35 thousandths faster than Nicholas Longuet in second place. His teammate Thomas Ronhaar in third. Barry Burman in fourth after invalidating through the final sector, and he was purple as well in the first two sectors leading up towards the line. He'll be absolutely kicking himself. Marcel Kiefer in fifth, Jarno Watmir sixth, Istvan Pukki stellar display in seventh, Freddie Rasmussen eighth, Jake Benham ninth, Otis Lawrence, probably arguably a disappointing run, 10th place. That's all he could enlist, but there we are, folks. What a story to kick things off, Jack. Brendan Lee back on top again. I spoke about it at the start of the season that this handling model could cultivate in former champions returning to the top. I think we might have been proven right, you know. Brendan back in P1, and it's in qualifying.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's been a long, long time coming for Brendan Lee, but starts on pole for the Japanese Grand Prix. Nicolas Longue on the front row as well, so that'll be an interesting run towards the first corner. Barry Borman still starts P4, and he still starts in front of Jarno as well. Jarno P6 behind Marcel Kiefer, so Kiefer starting in the top 5 as well. So lots to keep your eyes on for the race. Of course, we'll have a quick few minutes to sort of catch our breath after that. We're going to have, of course, our resident lobby restarts that we have to do, of course, after each session because of the grid penalties that are unfortunately plaguing us at the moment. But that is wonderful. So close as well. 25-4 between the top 3. Brendan Lee steals it by 0.03 of a second to get himself back on pole position for the Japanese Grand Prix. But he'll be looking to go for his second win, of course. He's already taken a win this season. He'll be looking to go for his second. He's got Ronar in P3 as well. So if he can get the start, those two can try and lead from the front. But he's got Nicolas Longue and Barry Borman sandwiching in between. This seems to be a story that's setting up here, George. Alpha versus Ferrari. This seems to be the story that's going.
Yeah, both Ferrari engine powered as well, which is quite intriguing. For now, at least. Obviously, Audi is stepping up very, very soon. I think that will obviously spark some major changes in that camp. But, folks, we will be right back. We're going to take a quick commercial break, only a matter of seconds, and we'll be analysing all of quali and the build-up for the race. Keep it with us. Well, welcome back, folks. History repeats itself in many ways, but here today we are seeing a former champion return to the top. Brendan Lee, now the fastest man to boot. And I tell you what, as I said, race winner at Qatar. The confidence seems to have returned, and he has moved from team to team. Obviously, was the very first ever F1 Esports champion back in 2017. We re-clinched the title again in 2018 with Mercedes, and has since moved to the likes of Ferrari, who, ironically, he's up against majorly on this occasion. We allude back to that story of Barry and Longue, and whether that's going to tell the story, Jack Kinnan, that, of course, that being Alfa Romeo versus Ferrari. You know, both have rich pedigrees, of course. Ferrari have the pedigree that they had David Sinitsa take the F1 Esports Pro Championship title back in 2019. Alfa Romeo have done it with the likes of Jarno Opmeer. They went close with Thomas Ronhaar last season. Two gargantuan teams, certainly in the world of F1 Esports, coming together.
It is, yeah, and it's two teams who've had major shake-ups in their lineup as well, coming into the season as well. So obviously the shake-ups are clearly working, and it's amazing to see. It's given us a taster of what's to come going into the next season as well. Now, of course, we can't say that's going to be absolutely accurate, because more than likely we'll have more teams in the mix as well, because we're missing the full-time lineup of Lucas Blakely and Wilson Hughes in the mix. You imagine those in the middle of that as well. Absolutely crazy. And lots more still to think about for this. We've got a couple more minutes, maybe 2-3 minutes before we might get underway here, but you've got lots of stories heading into this race. You've got Brendan Lee starting from the front for the first time in a while. You've got Danny Beresnay starting at the back, let's not forget. So we'll see what he can do. If there's a safety car team, he could come into the mix. We've seen only one driver win from 20th before. It has been done. Lucas Blakely, a couple of seasons ago at Bahrain, came from the back of the field. So lots to think about in this race. And this is, of course, a major point as well. Borman's still starting in front of Jarno. So championship-wise, it's good for him, but we've seen races go badly wrong for him where he's been in the lead and disconnects have plagued him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, if we just talk about that, of course, Danny Beresnay, you know, this is not the first time he's risen from adversity. You know, obviously, starting from the back, it isn't the end of the world for Danny Beresnay. We have seen strategy calls being made that have changed the face of a race very easily. Jarno's done it. Otis did it in the USA earlier on. Obviously, that race obviously did not, produce points, but still, at the same time, it was a major moment, and Otis did perform massively well. Obviously, stoppages, pit stops are absolutely vital, obviously, in this era of the game. You know, picking your tyres effectively, your pace through the race, tyre management, it is so important. And obviously we speak about the slipstream levels, the DRS, and how effective it really is, and how wheel-to-wheel racing is now truly a thing here in this era of league racing. it's down to the driver, isn't it? And Danny Berejne, with all his experience, everything that he has in his locker, I'd imagine he'll have someone in his ear as well, giving him some guidance as an engineer. What does he need to do, Jack, in order to fulfill, should we say, do what Otis did, or do what Jarno did in the past? Try and move your way as high up the order as you can. I get the sense there's going to be an alternate strategy produced.
Yeah, he's got to try something totally different to the rest of the grid, so we'll see what he can do there. But, we talk about guys who've come from the back of the grid. We had, of course, Otis do it with the voided result in Kota. Jake Benham did it at Zandvoort, and that did count, coming from 18th on the grid. So we have precedence there. Of course, safety cars and rain have helped out there. So if we do have possibly a wet race, possibly a wet to dry or dry to wet, that could mix things up. Safety car in the middle as well. He's going to need some things to fall his way, but it's not totally impossible. So watch out for Danny Berejne there. We know when he has done this in the past. He's come from the back of the grid and scored massive points. He is, of course, in that championship hunt and away for that top 5, so he's got to make sure he scores some decent points here. So it's all up for grabs, really. We're gonna have a different winner, of course, compared to last year. Blakely took the win last year, but he, of course, is not here this evening. But we did have a dramatic moment last season. Of course, if you check out the PSGL on Twitter, or X, I don't know what to call it now, but we'll call it Twitter for now. But you'll see X/Twitter. You've got the clip from last season where you had the controversial moment between Thomas Ronnar and Lucas Blakely into the Casio triangle, where Ronnar completely missed his break point, went into the side of him, nearly took the both of them out. So watch out for that as well. Some drivers might try audacious moves that mightn't come out necessarily. So it can all happen. And Japan is well known for wet races as well. So I wouldn't be too surprised if you see rain pouring down when we load into the lobby here. Yeah,
and one big update as well, Jack, because of course generally when it came down to restarts, they had to try and match the weather that they had before in qualifying. Now they've changed the rule, haven't they, as of this round. It is now dynamic weather for qualifying as well as the race. So no matter if there's a restart, there will still be dynamic weather, which means that it won't necessarily follow suit with what qualifying had to offer. Now this was a point that was certainly debated with the stewarding team as well as the drivers. Jarno had his own thoughts on the matter and said, let's make it dynamic regardless. And that makes sense, because there is no real benefit, I suppose, to trying to follow through the weather, because regardless, you're never going to match it with what Dynamic had planned. You're never going to be able to manipulate that. You have to make sure that, you're never going to make it seamless. So in that aspect, Dynamic is the right move, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, because we've had the point that was being made, of course, is that when the lobbies were being made again, the weather had to match the previous session, and there was always arguments of whether box 2 was light rain or was it cloud, or was there another box with light rain in it. So rather than just the drivers have agreed, stick it all on dynamic, and we'll all deal with the consequences, whatever they are. So dynamic qualifying and dynamic race. So we know now, whatever the race screen showed in qualifying, it may not necessarily match what we're going to see right now, as the lobby's counting down at the moment, 10 seconds until the loading screen starts. So we're about a minute and a half away from lights out, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, we won't be far away, folks, and naturally now we're just waiting for the lobby to start. The countdown is on. We could be seeing some freak rainstorms. Could it happen? We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, plenty to look forward to. Japan offers an abundance of opportunities for overtaking, as well as, should we say, fights on track. Let us know who you think is going to be taking victory here at Suzuka. Jack, I'm going to throw it to you. Who do you think's laying claim to this one?
Oh, this is a really hard one. This is going to be very difficult to predict, but I'm going to go with a Longe victory. I think he might do it today.
That is left wing of you, Jack Canaan. Incredible. I mean, that would be a stellar show, because, of course, Longe is still yet to win this season. So he could become yet our 6th different race winner. Of course, only one driver has done more than one, and that's Barry Burman. Everyone else, one solitary race win, that, of course, being Thomas Ronhar, Brendan Lee, Jake Benham, and Lucas Blakely. We're sitting tight there, folks, just waiting for the game to kick into gear. We can see that Jarno is getting tipped. We got someone saying P1 for Dylan Warren. Tactics Rules saying I'm going for Jarno. And keep them coming, folks. This is what we want as we now await. And certainly no concerns in terms of the wet weather, folks. A clear blue sky here at Suzuka, so it does pretty much follow suit with what we saw in qualifying as well. We're also getting predictions as well. More saying Jarno Tormela is also being tipped here by a few of you. We got Freddie, a Freddie Masterclass incoming, says Roy van der Aar. Matty D13, George for P1, obviously. George for P1's a super game. When people seem really intent on saying, I'm going to win this. Big C saying Dylan Warren. We've got Verstappen saying Nanda de Seidas. Jarno Tormela. That's interesting, Joni Tormela. I think you'll find Apex Misser. We have also got a 30-second penalty for Ocon, says as a lid. Different series, guys, different series. Goatmere says Tommy. We've got Will Lewis, says Mr. Also Rico. Brendan, my goat, says Ben Price. Keep them coming, folks. It's a pleasure having you all with us. Make sure you leave a like and also subscribe to the PSGL YouTube channel, folks. It really does help us out, help the growth of the league, and stay tuned in. It certainly is the fans' league, and we do this for the fans as well, and for the many who are passionate about the world of league racing and F1 esports. We're about to hit pedal to the metal once again here in PSGL, this time this season. And here at Suzuka, we are going to crown, could be a new race winner, it could be our 6th different race winner. We could yet see someone else either go for a second race win, or we could yet see Barry Burman take his 3rd and lay a claim potentially to the World Championship. In terms of the championship itself, Barry Burman 56 points, Jarno Opmeer on 37. It's very, very close out of the front two, Jack.
It is, yeah. This is an unusually long hold for the grid, I'm not going to lie. But there's, again, 19 points between Barry Burman. Let's not panic. We got Jarno Opmeer, 19 points behind Barry Burman. Point system works different here in PSGL. Don't forget, 16 points for the win. And rights on cue, lights are on.
Yeah, here they go now, folks. All 5 lights are lit. And it's pedal to the metal. And it is go, 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 go. Brendan Lee getting a brilliant start here. Nicholas Longue falls in behind him as well. Thomas Ronha looking to try and hold on to second place. Does so. Jarno Opmeer now going side by side with his teammate Marcel Kiefer as they now look to climb up now through the S section. Opmeer now up to 5th as he now proceeds past that of Marcel Kiefer. They're both on the soft tyres, as are many up in the front order of things. Brendan Lee holding on to the lead, and he's creating a gap. Nearly half a second, Jack Canan.
Yeah, that was great stuff from the top 4. Clean start from the top 4 at least, but split strategies at Alpha. Brendan's gone for the softs. Thomas Roller on the medium tyres in P3. Now we've Freddie Rasmussen who's gone left field altogether inside the top 10 on hard compound tyres. Otis Lawrence on the mediums there. They all filed through into the hairpin. A couple of moves trying to be made there. Jarno starting to go on the attack here on Barry Burman. How many times have we seen these two go wheel to wheel? Not quite able to get alongside him to head towards Spoon Curve. But on the charge here is Jarno Opmeer. Cleared Marcel Kiefer and is now trying to get himself in front of his championship rival. This is a crucial move. Don't forget, these two fighting for the title here. 19 points between them. Needs to start closing that gap as they head towards the last couple of rounds. But Brendan Lee will lead them into 130R for the first time. Nicholas Longue holds 2nd. Ronner on the mediums in 3rd. Barry then. And then it's Jarno Opmeer inside the top 5. Kiefer, Pookie, Benham, Rasmussen and Lawrence, your top 10. But as they cross the line, it's Brendan Lee who holds the lead. But a great start from the top 3. They all basically, no one gained any ground whatsoever.
Yeah, Shanaka Clay also looking to make the big moves. Now, Nicholas Longue right in behind that of Brendan Lee as they head down towards turn 1. No signs of making the move just yet. For the back, Shanaka Clay is on fire. Up to 12th place now. Going ahead of Josh Ito, who hasn't had the best of starts. Clay managing to get ahead of Alfie Butcher on the run down to Casio. Nearly got Josh Ito heading down there as well, but has managed to make the move, heading in towards turn 1, and is now elevating himself higher and higher. 12th place, and now behind Joni Tormela.
Yeah, I don't think there's actually been any position changes really, apart from a couple down the back with Berezne and Opmeer moving up 1 place. These guys have they've lost places but gained them back and have gone back where they started basically. So very, very uneventful lap number 1, you have to say, but sometimes you like those as they head through towards the Spoon Curve once again as Ishmael Fassi and Luke Smith go at it further back. Fassi and Smith trying to work it out here. Does Fassi get himself clear in front? It should be just about though, as Smith will fight him back on the inside into Spoon. Nothing you do about that. Through he goes back up into 15th place is what that's for. So the top 20 still in a big train here, but Brendan Lee still out in front here. Ronner coming out of the slipstream, as is Jarno. They don't want to close up too much coming into 130R, but Longue is challenging the back of Brendan Lee here. Coming up towards the Casio triangle. Will he go for it? No, he'll stay behind. DRS will be enabled on this next lap. So clean start from everybody. You can see even without the DRS, you can see the slipstream super effective around here.
Yeah, they certainly are now as they make their way around on lap 3 this time. Of course, now the fastest lap's being traded off. Shanaka Clay now taking it, as Longue has a look down the inside of Brendan Lee. Still not content with making the move, despite obviously having the ability of utilising that slipstream. Ishmael Fassi, though, making moves. Gets himself past Alfie Butcher, who's now lost yet another place. Fassi now utilising the softs. Of course, on the hard tyres, Alfie Butcher. So naturally, a pace differential. The delta, obviously, with the soft tyres in this initial stint for those hards will come into play later on. All Butcher needs to do is stay in the slipstream, stay within the delta of that of Ishmael Fassi, and he'll be okay.
Yeah, I'm just interested to see that, you know, Ron are keeping the pace with these top guys. We've seen it done in previous races as well, different guys utilising the medium tyre to stay with the top guys, so it's obviously working well for him so far. Rasmussen is sticking in there on the hards as well, doing an excellent job in P9. He's on a compound that's two sort of compounds harder than the soft tyres, and he's still hanging in there with the DRS, because the DRS train will now help him stay in there. But we'll see now as they head down towards 130R if there's going to be any moves made this time by as they come down along straight. Longue in an Alfa Romeo sandwich at the moment between Brendan Lee and Thomas Ronar. Down towards 130R they'll come, and we'll sit. You can imagine they'll time it. If they want to go for the move, he will go for it, but you don't want to go for it here either, because you can sort of compromise your exit on the inside. It's a tricky one to go for a move there. Shanaka Clay goes past Joni Tormala. That'll be for P11. No real fight put up there as they cross the line. DRS open for the Ferrari, and you can see now, will he decide to swap with Brendan Lee towards turn 1? No chance, he says. He wants to sit behind. He's quite happy to sit there and save ERS.
Yeah, we've got a bit of a conglomerate now making their way down towards turn 1. Josh Edo up into 11th. Remember, he lost places earlier on. Through turn 1, Luke Smith goes. Round the inside now, Shanaka Clay, who gained all those places. Remember, he made it up to 12th. Not only has he lost out to Josh Edo, who he passed earlier on, but now forfeiting off the back of cutting the chicane at the Casio Triangle, trying to make the move on that of Joni Tormala, and now he's paid the ultimate price. He has lost places. He's down to 14th, just ahead of his teammate Ishmael Fassi, with Edo now up to 11th.
Yeah, Edo capitalised on that very, very nicely in the end. Gets himself up a couple of places, but that just shows you fine margins. You make one error and you down 4 places you go in this championship. So let's see how that ends up afterwards. But Shanaka Clay now has to redo all the work he just did. But Josh Edo on the medium tyres now can get himself inside that top 10 fight. He'll be happy with that if he can hang on in there. Of course, on the mediums behind Otis Lawrence as he chases after him. He's also on the mediums is Otis Lawrence. Rasmussen on the hards. Everybody else in front apart from Ronar are on the soft compound tyres. Ronar on the medium. As they cross through 130R once again. Longue really being harried by Ronar in towards the Casio Triangle. Had to go defensive on the way in. This could get spicy now. Longue might have to go for it here as they head towards turn number 1. Brendan Lee versus Thomas Ronar versus Nicholas Longue. Ronar's found the space on the inside. Longue's boxed in. This is beautiful team play by the Alfa Romeos coming through turn 1. Longue's not giving it up though. Around the outside of turn number 1 in towards turn 2. Ronar has the outside. Longue will fight it with every ounce he's got. He holds the position. Wonderful driving from the both of them. But you could see the team play there. George Brendan Lee backing Longue into the box, and he couldn't move, but he fights his way through.
Yeah, and of course this is vital for Brendan Lee's lead, because of course if he can get Ronhart in between them, that's a barrier that Ferrari certainly don't want. Nicholas Longue now under a lot of pressure here as they now make their way through the second Degner. He made a little bit of contact through turn 1. Luckily enough though, no issues as they come together again, heading through the hairpin. Ronhart down the inside again this time, and he looks like he might have the tiger line. Pulled off a surprise move now as they venture through towards 230R. Wheel to wheel now towards Spoon Curve. The 2 Ferrari power cars now being pressed the Ferrari by the Alfa Romeo of Thomas Ronar. The Dutchman now sails into second place. Thomas Ronar, last season's runner-up here in PSGL, now usurps Nicholas Longue. It's a double Alfa Romeo attack up at the front end with 2 Ferraris falling in behind.
Great move from Ronar, deep on the brakes. Longue left him room. Ronar left him space on the outside to work with, and in the end he had to settle behind, but that won't be the end of the story. Still in the DRS train here as well, but great, wonderful team play from the Alphas. We've seen this before, but with the former teammates of Danny Moreno and Jarno Watmere, but now you'll see Ronar might go for the move here on Brendan Lee towards turn 1. Here he comes, attacking on his teammate, and Ronar takes the lead of the Japanese Grand Prix, burns through the ERS and gets himself to the front of the order on those mediums. So those softs really not hanging on too long there, George. You can see the mediums in full effect, and Ronar starting to check away.
Curious stuff indeed. The two alphas working in tandem. We speak about relationships. We speak about team interplay. We saw Alfa Romeo doing exactly the same thing at Qatar. And what was the result, Jack Canan? It was a Brendan Lee victory. Again, they're swapping sides. They're working together. Both Ron Hart and Brendan Lee have a race winner piece to their name. And coincidentally enough, it's in the last two races they have pulled that off. Has there been a change in tactics? Has there been some movement? Certainly some practice being intervened here in this session. Obviously, that Ron Hart and Lee would have been working together back at base, perhaps trying out some new methods of stealing, taking the races. And at this point, it looks like they're doing just that. They're executing here around Suzuka. And I have to tell you, it's a pleasure to watch.
It certainly is. Now, the only thing is Longuet has not burned through any of his ERS. He's still got plenty from sitting behind, so he's still definitely not out of this, and he will not let this go. He'll want to get by Ronar once again, and definitely certainly get by Brendan Lee. Here they come towards the Casio triangle. Here comes Longuet trying to go defensive. Lee has to go on the inside of his teammate. They'll slow each other up coming through the Casio triangle. I don't think that was intentional from either of them, but no contact made. Down towards turn one they come. The two teammates trying to work with each other here. Brendan Lee with the DRS will try and slot in front, but here comes Nicholas Longuet. He'll try and attack on Ronar at the same time around the outside of turn one. Gets in from before the braking zone, and Longuet slots himself back in front. Who said the battle was over?
Well, it certainly is. And we're on lap 7. We've got another 20 laps or so, well, to come at this point now. And Ron Hart is certainly not going to take that lying down. Brendan Lee now leads the way, as he did at the very start of this race. He's got Nicholas Longuet right in behind him. We're now back as we were, folks. Now seeing them make their way down through towards the first Degner, second Degner after this one. Barry Burman must be wondering what's going on. He's been watching this right from the get-go. And I tell you what, the one driver that could come out on top in this affair is Thomas Ron Hart. He's the only driver on the medium tyres in the top 8. If he goes along on this strategy and differs from everyone else, I mean, Alfa Romeo going for split strategies, should it stay like this, they're in a great position right now.
I'm waiting for Freddie Rasmussen Hards to switch on. That'll be interesting once they come into effect.
Top 10
so
on Hards. He's incredible.
Yeah, he's held his own. He has not lost a position since on those hard compound tyres. So watch out for Rasmussen later. When everybody else's tyres start to die, it may come into effect. Let's wait and see. But fabulous racing so far from the top 3. And Barry Burman now fancies a bit of the action. Now gets up behind. So now this is the Alphas versus the Ferrari. So it's the customer team versus the Works Ferrari team. Let's see how this goes as they come towards turn 1. So now Longuet surely has to go for the move on Brendan Lee at the same time towards turn 1. The DRS super powerful as he heads towards turn 1. Will he sit behind? No, he'll sit behind. Doesn't fear the attack from Ronar, so he'll sit behind as long as he doesn't feel that he's going to get overtaken by Ronar. So now can sit behind Brendan Lee. It's almost back to the way it was for a little while. It's back to what it was on lap number 1, holding position. And it's fantastic to see the two strategies working there. Ronar almost got away, but no way through for him just yet. Is being sort of frustrated by Nicholas Longuet at the moment, coming up the hill. Brendan Lee still holding the lead. But very enjoyable to see these guys swapping places throughout that lap as well. And space left all the time.
Yeah, definitely. It's been fair racing so far. Great competitive racing between obviously the very best, in fact, in F1 esports. Nicholas Longuet now having to defend relentlessly against Thomas Ron Hart, but also at the same time throw caution to the wind in a sense of attacking Brendan Lee. Obviously don't want him to get too comfortable right at the front. We're now waiting to see the drivers round Spoon Curve now. Lee takes them through as they head now down through very shortly towards the 130R. Out they go. It's Alfa Romeo 1 and 3 with a Ferrari staggered in between. There we see as well Barry Burman in 4th place. Jana Watmere also watching all this unfold as well as they break out of the dirty air. Once again, Ron Hart slightly defensive against Burman. We haven't seen him strike just yet as now they make their way down through towards the Casio Triangle chicane. Now, look between your fingers, folks. We could be seeing some more battling heading down towards turn 1 again this time. Out of the Casio now as they round the final corner, and now with DRS open up here, Longuet can now bring on the attack. Will he take the lead of the race here at this point now as they come together? Wheel to wheel, not quite. Nose to tail, not making the move here. Nicholas Longuet remains behind that of Brendan Lee for now. Lap 9 of 27, and we await the first stops.
Yeah, we've got Ishmael Fassi, Josh Ito and Joni Tormala all into the pits for their pit stops. So they're, of course, switching on to the hard compound tyres on lap number 9. So we've got still more to come, but Ronar getting close and closer to Longuet here, coming towards Degner 1 and 2. He won't have a spot to overtake here, but as he's again harrying the back of that Ferrari. He's got Barry Borman just been sitting and watching, and then the two Mercs are sitting behind of Jarno Wotmir and Marcel Kiefer, of course, the Mercedes in the fight as well. Then you got Istvan Pukki in the Aston Martin, Jake Benham in the AlphaTauri, Freddie Rasmussen in the Red Bull, and Otis Lawrence in the McLaren as well, the second McLaren. So plenty to keep your eyes on across this here, but it's already sort of kicked off, but has sort of settled down in this part of the race. Lap 9 of 27. Brendan Lee still leading, Nicholas Longe second, Thomas Ronard third, Barry Borman, Jarno Wotmir and Marcel Kiefer. That top 6 behind the top 10 in the big long train, as you can see. But will there be any moves made? You can see Longe getting out of the slipstream, doesn't want to get caught as they head in towards 130R, but he's sort of getting closer and closer and closer, but stays behind for the Casio Triangle again. Not a great place to overtake with the line you have to take through there, but will there be any pit stops for these guys up the front end? Yes, Barry Borman peels in and Wotmir follows.
Yeah, he certainly does now. Will this be the time when Nicholas Longe looks to strike? Now goes side by side with Brendan Lee, and as easy as you like, takes the lead of the race here in the Japanese Grand Prix, here at Suzuka. Ferrari back at the front end, Buraman now in the pits, as you so rightly say. He's not alone as well. We got Benham in, Wotmir is in as well, makes their way out. Wotmir right and tight in behind Barry Buraman as they take the pit escape.
Yeah, that was a planned move from Ferrari, wasn't it? Cole Borman in while Longe makes the move on Brendan Lee so he can push on. They can't pit at the same time or there'll be a double stack. Of course, this is where the split strategy for Alfa Romeo will work, of course, because Ronald is going to go longer anyway, so he won't be pitting at the same time. But, of course, Mercedes have to split the strategy there with Marcel staying out, Jarno having to come in, so will the undercut work in this part? He's got 15 seconds of clean air. There's Barry Borman as well. He's got Jarno right on his tail, but those two we know will work together. Two championship rivals, of course, so they'll work together for a certain period, but wait until we get to later on. But they've gone for the early stop. Nicholas Longe, now you'd expect him in on this lap, as you would expect Brendan Lee. You can expect Ronard to stay out for longer, as will Freddie Rasmussen. Marcel Kiefer and Pukki may come in this lap as well to follow and respond to the undercuts of Borman and Wotmir. Let's see as they head towards the Casio Triangle. Little wiggle of the steering from Brendan Lee to sort of say, I'm not going to pass you on the way to 130R, don't worry. As they head through the final two corners here, Nicholas Longe will come in, Lee will follow him, Ronard will stay out, Kiefer stays out, Istvan Pukki stays out. So those, now we're going to see how do they come out relative to Borman and Wotmir.
Yeah, they're now making their way through 130R. It's now or never, certainly as far as Jarno Wotmir is concerned, obviously on the hard tyres. Let's see where the Flying Dutchman comes out in all this too, because of course remember, he was in 5th place. Does he gain anything? Does Barry Buraman gain anything as well? Remember, he was 4th, as now they make their way across the line now. Do they figure ahead? Oh, there the cars now, taking the pit escape, and look at them, it's Barry Buraman, he jumps the pair of them. There you see Jarno Wotmir also ahead of Nicholas Longe, so there you have it, your net leaders here at this point. It's Barry Buraman and Jarno Wotmir, 1 and 2 in the championship, and they're coming down to duel here at the Suzuka circuit. Grab the popcorn, folks, this party's just getting started.
Absolutely inch perfect. That was a textbook undercut. Wotmir, desperate to follow through, does the job, but I'm intrigued, George. Longe has gone mediums. He's gone different to everybody else and has decided to go on the medium tyre. Barry Borman, Jarno Wotmir on the hard compound tyres, Brendan Lee as well. That was as close as you can get in towards turn 1, but brilliant stuff from Barry Borman, who now takes what is technically the net race lead now from Jarno Wotmir, from Nicholas Longe on the mediums, but a familiar sight between these two. The two championship rivals, and Nicholas Longe as well, the teammate in the middle. Brendan Lee, of course, he has got fresher tyres, let's not forget, as Ronard now peels into the pits. Kiefer has to come in as well, as does Istvan Pukki, leaving Freddie Rasmussen out to lead the Japanese Grand Prix on his hard tyres that he started on. But where will they? These guys are obviously going to filter out now. It's getting hot now. Wotmir having to try and go defensive on Longe in towards the Casio Triangle. Had to stand on the anchors to try and keep him behind. And Longe's on a mission as they head towards turn 1 now. DRS open for Wotmir. Will he have the opportunity to stay in front here to come towards turn 1? Wotmir on the attack here towards turn 1. Has the inside for turn 1. Takes the net lead. Longe follows through on the inside, and Borman loses 2 spots. So Jarno Wotmir will take the net race lead.
Incredible stuff from Jarno Wotmir. A little bit of a misplacement of the keys as far as I'm concerned from me on the cameras. I do apologise, folks at home, but Jarno Wotmir now 6th on track, ahead there of of Nicolas Longuet. An incredible moment as now he usurps both Ferraris as they make their way through towards the Degners now. A double right-hander to come, and certainly now the two Ferraris laid back. Jarno Opmeer, your net leader here at this point on lap 12 of 27. He's turned around, started P5 if you remember, and now the net leader of this race, even though he's 6 in the current classification. Heading through now the 230R, Spoon Curve coming up very shortly. Longuet now tied up right in behind as they round Spoon Curve now. These two gargantuan drivers that have done it, certainly been there, have battled with the best in the world of F1 esports, and now battling here in PSGL as they make their way down towards the 130R now. Longuet trying to break out of the slipstream. In behind, Brendan Lee and Thomas Ronard, who were controlling this race only a matter of laps ago, and now it's down to a Mercedes, 2 Ferraris, 2 Alphas in behind. Remember, Jarno Opmeer's former team that he would win his first World Championship with now. They venture out of the Casio Triangle. Another straight to take. Nicolas Longuet, will he pounce immediately? Lap 13 of 27. Here comes Nicolas Longuet round the outside, soon to be joined by Barry Burman, the two protagonists for the championship. Once again entwined, it's Jarno Opmeer in a Ferrari sandwich as now we make our way through the midway point of the race. Strap yourselves in, we're going to be in for a hellacious ride.
The whole field is in a train at the moment, and really anybody could win this race, but Longuet needs to get away now. He's on the mediums, don't forget, needs to make good use of them. Opmeer now sitting behind, he's got his championship rival right behind him, but don't forget, Ronard has got the freshest tyres of anybody. He's got a lap fresher tyres compared to his teammate, and 2 laps fresher than Longuet, and 2 laps younger, than Jarno Opmeer's tyres as well, so watch out for him. There's still a long way to go in this race. We're only halfway, and this is what we've got so far, and we still yet to see pit stops from the top 5 currently on your screens of Freddie Rasmussen, Tom Manley, Ruben Pedreño, Danny Beresnet and Fabrizio Donoso. They've yet to make their pit stops yet, so let's see how this one ends, because that was an insane part of the race so far, with still lots more to come in this Grand Prix here as they head towards 130R once again. Will there be any swaps being made between the Alpha teammates? I can't see it. They're working well together, but again, this is all going to come to a head. There's still a long way to go in this race, only on lap 14 of 27 as they head through towards the start-finish line to begin another lap, and it'll be Longuet who gets us across the line once again for another while, and Opmeer follows Borman behind. Are the Alphas going to swap places behind? They're sort of thinking about it but not doing it, and Josh Ito, I mean, he's got older tyres, but I mean, if he finds a gap he'll go for it.
Yeah, no, he will, and that's what you need to be doing if you want to be considered a top F1 esports talent. These drivers now making their way through the S section once again, this time on lap 14 of 27, just tempting their way past the halfway mark. The 2 Alphas once again cemented together. Now they don't want to stay like this, Jack. They're just outside half a second of that of Barry Burman. Of course, Brendan Lee currently leading the Alfa Romeo contingent now. Do they make the swap? Thomas Ronard, of course, very fast. Brendan Lee, of course, he is fast over a single lap. We saw that in qualifying as they make their way out of the hairpin section now. Opmeer, of course, we saw him lead, well, net lead to a certain extent, and now Longuet holds that honour here at this point, but still the DRS train in full flow. Freddie Rasmussen still yet to box, as is Ruben Pedreño, Tom Manley, Danny Beresnet, as well as Fabrizio Donoso as well. Otis Lawrence also making some big moves as he makes his way past Marcel Kiefer, heading down the 130R now this time as they now make their way through. There you can see Ronhard breaking out of the slipstream there once again. Alfa Romeo might choose to do a swap. They might choose to plug Ronhard to mount the attack, as now we see Tom Manley move himself ahead of Ruben Pedreño as well. Battle straight back to the front end. Opmeer now out of the Casio. Still ahead there of Barry Burman, still no change in that order. Longuet leading the way. Now, one has to wonder here, Jack, he's on the medium tyres. They've got to get him to the end, but he will be feeling the pinch, no doubt, when we get to those closing stages.
Yeah, he's really got to look after them, of course. That's why he probably wanted to get out in clean air and try as much as possible to nurse these tyres, but it's going to be a very difficult task to do that while also trying to defend from basically the entire field right behind you. You get Longuet defending from Opmeer, Borman, Brendan Lee, Thomas Ronard, Josh Ito, Benham, Lawrence, Kiefer, Isfan Pookie, all the way down to Shanika Clay are all in this DRS train. The only person who doesn't have DRS at the moment is Longuet out front of this train, but he's still got a long way to go in this race. So you can expect guys to be patient now. It's that early phase of jostling for position. I almost thought there was going to be a massive accident coming down towards turn 1 when Upmere went for the move on the inside of turn number 1. There was actually, you had the two, you had Marcel Kiefer and Co emerging from the pit lane at the same time. So for a moment, for a split second, it was 4 wide into turn 1, but they all came through it in the end. But Longuet maintaining a 7/10 of a second lead currently on those tyres, not using ERS at the moment. You can see in the background, look at the attack behind from Brendan Lee. He fancies a chance on Boorman now, and this is going to have to be a defensive line from the Ferrari, but not able to make his way through. But the Alphas are hungry to make their way through. That was an interesting one for Brendan. They thought he was going to go for it into 130R, but decided to back out of it in the end, pushed his teammate, or his Ferrari compatriot through, and no way through for the moment, but showing his intentions clearly as Rasmussen, Tom Manley and the former leaders now decide to come into the pit lane, but they'll be quick towards the end on those newer medium tyres.
Yeah, Jake Benham also moving up to 8th place as well, jumping Josh Edo in the initial. Brendan Lee, who is now threatening all over the back of Barry Burman, as they did earlier on as well. The Ferraris and Alphas once again together, this time though not scrapping over that net P1 position. Of course, at this point, Nicholas Longuet holds on to that accolade right now, with Jarno Opmeer chasing him at this point. Degner 2 coming up next. Will Brendan Lee plug for the move, heading up through towards the hairpin? He is close to the back of the Ferrari. Might choose to open up the door late on. No surprise attack here from the 2-time F1 Esports World Champion, as he now makes his way out to that particular hairpin. They're going to come together surely, heading down the 130R. The question is, can he make that crucial overtake? You get the feeling, Jack, Alpha needs to move now if they want any chance of taking the win here.
We've heard rumours there's rain on the way as well. This could spice things up towards the end as well, but we'll take that as it comes now. Brendan Lee using the ERS, forcing Boorman to use his down towards 130R, but he's on the attack here towards 130R. Surely not going to look up the inside there. Doesn't in the end, but is really hounding the Ferrari as they come through now. Boorman goes deep on the brakes, just about holds the position for now, but it's edge of the seat still through 130R each time. Brendan Lee is sniffing, trying to get his way through on the inside, but no way through. Won't get a chance to do it towards the turn number 1 either, but Boorman is watching his mirrors constantly behind. As Isfan Pookie is actually on the attack on Marcel Kiefer in towards turn 1 now, side by side between these two. Kiefer trying to hold on the outside, but Pookie should have the line coming through the Schumacher S. A little bit of side by side. No, it's going to end in tears. Round goes Pookie into the gravel trap. Tyre on tyre contact. Unfortunately, the Hungarian's run comes to an end.
Yeah, unfortunately so, and that is something you do see very often. Wheel to wheel heading through the S section, the snake section is less than ideal, and very rarely does it pay off. Jarno Opmeer suffered that very fate when he was in the closing run of him chasing the World Championship. It, in effect, cost him the World Championship in F1 Esports last season here at Suzuka as well, and just goes to show 2 into 1 certainly doesn't go here through the slalom section, but nonetheless the battle up at the front end is certainly in full flight. There you can see Jarno Opmeer currently sat in 3rd place, and in net P2. Fabrizio Donoso still yet to box. Obviously plug in for that possibility of a safety car as they now make their way down towards 130R. This time Alfa Romeo currently sit with cars in P5 and 6. Ron Hart in behind his teammate. They've obviously got to be having a chance. Donoso does come into the pit, so Longuet coming across the line will take the absolute lead of this race in the classification here on lap 19. And as soon as they bring lap 18 to a close, it is Longuet who takes the official lead of the race here on lap 18 of 27. Soon to be lap 19 after this one, as Jarno Opmeer goes hunting for the race lead, with Barry Burman in hot pursuit, Brendan Lee in 4th, in behind Thomas Ronnar still in 5th. Just look at the gaps, folks, all within DRS, right down to P15, where Freddie Rasmussen has come out on a fresh set of medium tyres.
And there's our first retirement. This one, Pookie coming in to retire the car from this race. We got a long way into this race without a retirement. The Alphas, though, again, they're so close to each other each time, but no swaps being made just yet. So no real team orders, it seems, at Alfa Romeo just yet. No call for a swap between them. But lap 18 of 27. Laps ticking by. Longuet still in the lead. How are his tyres holding up is the question going into this phase of the race. They've got a decent way to go on those tyres as well. So we'll see how it's going to end. But it's holding up to be something particularly spicy. We got Ronnar super close to his teammate coming through Spoon Curve. Lee thinking about moves to 130, gone a little bit loose there. This might be a move here for Ronnar if he can get alongside. No, not quite able to do so. Lee defending the move up towards 130R. Just got a little bit squirrely on the exit of Spoon and had to keep Ronnar behind just for a moment, but no way through on his teammate just yet. It's just stacking up behind them now. Josh Ito not too far behind. And once again, George, from seemingly nowhere, Jake Benham is in this fight as well.
Yeah, one of the most consistent drivers this season as well. Very rarely misses a step, has actually really been on point so far in this race. Ruben Pedreño setting the fastest lap with a 1:28 and 6:62. As we now see Pedreño, in fact, start to make moves. Goes ahead of Joni Tormela for that 13th place as well. Thomas Ronha getting very close and personally in behind. Joni Tormela currently trying to hold back the tide himself. Has got two Williamses on his tail, heading through now the initial sector. Joni Tormela on his return to PSGL, this time though in the colours of Papaya for this round alone. Makes his way now down through towards the double right-hander at the Degners. There you can see the Williams is in behind too, as we now see Tom Manley also trying to bring himself into the scrap. It's all lighting up everywhere here. Up at the front end, Ronha still tapping all over the back of Brendan Lee, but the Alfa Romeos still refusing to swap here, Jack.
Longay's almost broken DRS out front. This is getting interesting now. If he can get out of DRS, that's a big moment in this race for Longay's chances. Yeah, and trying to keep Jarno up your base. Almost just dipped out for a moment there. It means Jarno's going to have to work very hard to stay in. And it's an interesting phase this race. Those mediums still working very well. And there's the swap, is it? Yes, Ronhar and Brendan Lee have swapped down towards 130R. So Ronhar now leads Brendan Lee in towards the Casio triangle, so they've decided to make this position swap in towards that corner. So now it opens the opportunity for Ronhar to go on the attack. Yeah,
certainly does. And big thank you to Big C as well in the live chat. Nicholas Longay has never won a race in PSGL. This could be a grand feat. Freddie Rasmussen also making moves. In fact, he's going to look to do a double. Freddie Rasmussen now up into 10th place. Dispatched Ruben Pedreño. Dispatched Alfie Butcher. He's now in the top 10. He's in the points. And now looking to challenge Marcel Kiefer. Enter now Freddie Rasmussen with a mere 7 laps or so to go.
And he's got 6 lap fresher tyres than all of the guys in front of him. So watch out for Rasmussen on the charge in the Red Bull. Let's watch and wait and see. This is classic stuff from the Dane. And, well, we'll see how far can he go. He's got 7 laps to do it. He's inside the points and has got much fresher tyres than anybody in front of him, but he's going to have to use them to good effect. The Honor closes back down that gap to Longay. Of course, he's had to probably use battery to get to do that, and has done so. So now it's Ronhar on the attack on Borman. They've got lots to keep their eyes on as Rasmussen is all over the back of Kiefer towards Spoon Curve. Through he goes. No fight put up. That's P9 for the Dane.
Former teammates no longer though. Kiefer at the Mercedes team now has just been dispatched by his former teammate Freddie Rasmussen in a Red Bull as well. Also entering a fight is Ruben Pedreño, who's going to go side by side, heading into 130R, gets it done before the very corner as then they make their way down towards Casio. Freddie on the ascendancy now as he looks to rise himself higher and higher in the fight to perhaps be in the equation for a race win this time. Longay still trying to check out. He has now dropped back to 0.6 of a second. That's the mere deficit between him and Jarno Opmeer. Danny Berejnay set the fastest lap of the race with a 1:28.595 as well. More mix-ups there further back as Freddie Rasmussen overtakes Otis Lawrence. Another one in the books. And now I'd imagine Josh Ito will forego the position.
Yeah, he could do this. He could seriously do this, Freddie Rasmussen, because he's got such a tyre advantage over everybody. Staying out on those hard tyres has really worked for him now. Josh Ito will definitely not make this difficult for his teammate, but Freddie Rasmussen, welcome back as he comes through to Degner 2. We've missed this Freddie Rasmussen, the charging Dane, as he comes through the field now. Alternate strategies, doing the job out front, and is now in with a chance of a possible podium, if not a victory, if he can keep it together and clear these cars as quickly as possible. It's not going to be easy, but you can expect this move to be very easy. Ito moves aside, and it's another place for Freddie Rasmussen. P7. Next up on his list is Jake Benham. Jake has dropped out of DRS for a moment.
Yeah, stood side by side, locked in arms with Joni Tormela as they drove for G2 Esports in Saudi Arabia during the game as Thomas Ronha now also looking to try and plug for moves as well. Slightly defensive moves there from Barry Burman, who tries to avoid the approach from the ever-pursuing Dutchman, who has a look down the outside in towards the Casio. Can't quite do it, and you get the feeling that Ronha's patience is starting to become very, very thin. He knows what's at stake here, a potential race win for Alfa Romeo and himself as well to make it race win number 2. Can he achieve just that? Jarno Opmeer also chasing his first race win of the season, tries to ask the questions there of that of Nicholas Longay up at the front end. Freddie Rasmussen now all over the tail of the all-star Jake Benham. It's kicking off here at Suzuka.
This won't help him though, he couldn't get him into turn one. He's going to have to sit behind now. Jake flashing on the ERS as well. He's got to get clear of him very quickly and use the tyre advantage in the middle sector here for Rasmussen. So now he will catch up to him, but it's a question he's going to run out of laps, it seems. These guys have been saving ERS up the front as well, but Jarno almost making the move on Longuet here. How much tyre life is left in those mediums for Nicolas Longuet? He's held on for so long in this race, but now the attack, the noose is starting to get tightened slightly as he heads through into the hairpin, but he's managing this beautifully well so far as they come through the next parts of the lap. But it's hard to predict who will do it, who will cross the line in that prime position come the end of this race. But Rasmussen's still not able to get in front of Benham just yet. He's got to get clear of him soon now as they head towards 130R. There could be moves made all across the board here, but Freddie has got to get clear, and he will do. Side by side towards 130R, gets in front of Jake Benham. Now he's in the fight.
He certainly is, right in behind Brendan Lee. And I tell you what, have a look at the names there, folks, in the top six. You've got Longuet, Otmir, Burman, Ronha, Lee, Rasmussen. It's a who's who at the sharp end of F1 esports. We have got former champions as well in the likes of Otmir and that of Brendan Lee, who both together share a combination of 4 F1 esports championships together. In comes Josh Eno as well, round the outside, trying to find a move on Jake Benham, but could be at the, certainly at the oppression of that of Ruben Pedreño, who looks to now charge on the attack. Alfie Butcher goes ahead of Luke Smith as well. It's all coming together now as they make their way through a lap 23 of 27, only a mere 5 laps left, and now, or 4 laps should I say, plus a little bit more, and Longuet, despite leading, is going to start feeling the pinch surely on those medium tyres.
Yeah, great strategy from Pedreño. Same strategy as he went on with Freddie Rasmussen. He's using those mediums down the inside of Eno. Does he get it stopped? There's a little bit of contact through the corner, and he makes the move. And enter Danny Beresnay from the back of the grid, George.
Yeah, he started P20. He's gained 10 places. Danny Beresnay on a charge as well. I tell you what, Cinderella story. I've spoken about how the older, the vintage F1 esports drivers have certainly been brought back into fruition. Danny Beresnay, one of the most consistent protagonists up at the sharp end, has scored a podium this season as well, as we now see all the drivers now coming down towards the Casio Triangle chicane. Another surprise attack from Thomas Ronnar, but Barry Burman blocks it off as they now head through now towards lap 24 of 27. Longuet with the lead, but Otmir is still there and within DRS.
It's getting very cloudy. I sense rain coming towards the end of this race as well. This could be a crazy finish here at the Japanese Grand Prix as Rasmussen is right on the tail of Brendan Lee coming through turn 1 as well. This could be the most mental end to a Grand Prix so far this season, and it's anybody's game. If the rain comes, this could really put a dampener on things. Who's got the car control to get through? But it's clouding over now. When will the rain arrive? Will it arrive soon enough? Will it rain hard enough for these guys to even have to go on to intermediate tyres? Let's wait and see. But Longuet still leads the race, has never won a PSGL race, and he now leads from Jarno Watmir, from Barry Borman, from Thomas Ronnar, from Brendan Lee, from Freddie Rasmussen, and Pedreño fancies a chance as well. He's desperate to get by Jake Benham here as he exits the hairpin, has the tyre grip. Beresnay is through to P9 as well. Here comes young Ruben Pedreño, fancies a chance on the inside of Benham. Can he get alongside into Spoon Curve? He's got the tyre grip, he's got the battery, but hasn't enough to get alongside as they come through. But settle in, there's 3 more laps left on the clock.
Yeah, there certainly is. Freddie Rasmussen as well, trying to get closer and closer to Brendan Lee, but obviously Freddie will have to contest with 2 Alfa Romeos, and I'd imagine there will be some defensive tactics coming here as well. Look at Ronha pushing Barry Burman around as they come out of 130R. A surprise move from Thomas Ronha! Goodness me! Who saw that coming? I don't think Barry quite did, as they defend the place on the outside of the Casio Triangle. Through goes Freddie Rasmussen! He now moves up into 5th place too! An incredible moment as this race starts to spill into overdrive. Enter a 2-time world champion. Enter Brendan Lee, who tries to attack Barry Burman. Stellar defense by the Iranian. He holds on to 3rd.
I feel the stewards are going to get involved in that one. That was very tight between the two of them. Brendan Lee goes through, Rasmussen goes through, but Barry holds the position for now, but is now going to be at the mercy of Brendan Lee. Ronnar will not be happy with that as he came through the exit. We'll see how it goes, but that gives a bit of breathing space for the moment to Longbay and to Upmere. This could end either way. This is getting spicy now. Again, Borman and Runner, the championship protagonists from last season. It was always no holds barred between those two. And again, through that cut, there's a little bit of contact further back. I think it might have been between a couple of cars there, but they managed to come through. It's getting very spicy now, but we'll see how this is going to end, because again, 2 laps to go across the line. Longay is doing a sterling job out there in the lead of this race. 2 more laps to go. Can he possibly hang on here?
Marcel Kiefer also getting bullied here at this point as well. Alfie Butcher, Fabrizio Donoso now fancy the piece of the pie as they make their way towards 130R. Enter as well Tom Manley, who's going to bring himself into the scrap. 3 wide essentially, heading through 130R. I would never recommend it, but as they make their way through...
Big crash.
Oh, Butcher! It's Alfie Butcher, he's out of the race, he's retired, and now we got 3 wide heading through the Casio Triangle chicane. Now we talk about incidents, we talk about racecraft. Again, we're seeing these situations come together, and now 4 wide again, heading down the long straight, and you have to ask yourself, why put yourself in this position? Kiefer now, down the inside through turn 1, attacking Tom Manley through this section. Again, they nearly make contact. They do make contact through the slalom, and again, another spin. You have to start asking questions of these moments. Stewards have got to intervene.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it was Danny Beresnay and Alfie Butcher with the crash in 130R. Butcher, unfortunately, Beresnay's runs come to the end, but unfortunately, it's another one that ends in more incidents. But we've got to keep our eye on the top. These guys have put on a show today, and we'll see how this is going to end. Longay still in the lead, but there's only 1 more lap to go after this. But Brendan Lee fancies a chance here. He's lining up Borman in towards Spoon. Does he fancy going for it to Spoon? Surely not. Borman will defend that, but again, Lee has got more ERS to use here. But it's all surely, George, it's in the lap of Yarn and Watman. If he gets the exit out of the last corner, surely it's his now.
Yeah, it certainly is. Brendan Lee right in the pocket of Barry Burman. The rear wing now in full view as the 2-time F1 Esports World Champion goes very tight through 130R as then they come down towards Casio Triangle. Wheel to wheel between 2 great drivers. Barry Burman, the current PSGL champion, a 2-time F1 Esports champion now knocking at his door as they head now out of the final corner. It's all going to light up now down the home straight. The 2 Ferraris coming under attack. Omir going for the lead of the race as well. Looks to the outside in towards turn 1. Brendan Lee dispatches Barry side by side between Omir and Longay. Longay shuts the door. Brilliant defence here as we now stretch out on the final lap of the race.
Mere millimetres between them, but they come through unscathed. Brilliant racing between Nicholas Longay and Opmir, but Opmir not able to get in front just yet, but there's still a long way to go around this lap. Lee has cleared Borman now. This is great for Jarno's championship if he can stay where he is now. He's got a car between himself and Borman, but we will see now up towards the hairpin for the last time. Longay hanging on by the skin of his teeth right now on the medium tyres. Gets a little nudge in the rear, just a tiny tap from Jarno as he came through there, but there's still again one more sector to go for Nicholas Longay to try to cling on for his first ever PSGL PCF1 win. Through they come, through Spoon Curve. There's still the long run to 130R to come. Round Spoon for the last time. It's raining now as well as they head towards the last sector. Here they come for the last time. Opmir in the slipstream of Nicholas Longay, dumping the ERS. Has he got enough to go for a lunge on the brakes in towards the last chicane? Closing up to his championship rival. Is he able to do? He's going to have a little look, no way through. Nothing on the brakes for him there as they head through the last corner. It will be for the first time in PSGL. Nicholas Longay will hang on to win the Japanese Grand Prix. What a victory for the Frenchman. Jarno Opmir finishes once again in a fantastic second place. Brendan Lee finishes third, and Rasmussen beats Barry Borman at the line to take P4. Barry Borman finishes P5, Ronar 6th, Pedreño, Benham, Donoso and Kiefer. But once again, what a drive from Nicholas Longay, clung on until the death and wins for the first time in PSGL PC.
Well, are you gobsmacked? Are you gobsmacked? 6 different winners this season in PSGL. Ferrari's third, Barry Burman taking 2. Nicholas Longay's just laid claim to his very first PSGL PCF1 victory, and that is amazing to think considering the career that this young man has had. He has now got a notch on the lapel. He is a PSGL race winner. A sensational moment for Nicholas Longay. beating the Flying Dutchman Jarno Opmeer as they came together through turn 1. The defence was brilliant. It was sensational. He extracted the most out of those medium tyres and took the car home. Scuderia on top yet again at the helm of Ferrari. The prancing horse delivers here once again. And what this means for the season, I do not know, folks. I tell you what, Thomas Ronhaar and Brendan Lee, I'd imagine there'll be some questions in amongst how their strategy worked out. Brendan Lee, of course, netting together a superb pole position leading in to this very race, but wasn't able to convert it to the race win he might have been looking for. Longe is your winner. Jarno Opmeer a brilliant second. Brendan Lee a brilliant third. Freddie Rasmussen, what a drive. Fourth place, started 8th. The strategy was certainly successful. Barry Burman in 5th, Thomas Ronhaar in 6th. He will be disappointed, I'd imagine. Ruben Pedreño, 19th to 7th. What a drive. Jake Benham in 8th, Fabrizio Donoso in 9th, Marcel Kiefer in 10th, Otis Lawrence in 11th, Luke Smith in 12th, Yoni Tormela 13th, Shanaka Clay 14th, Danny Berejnay after losing out earlier on due to all the chaos that happened towards the end. Again, driving standards questioned towards the rear of the field, and we will analyse that too, folks. Ishmael Fassi in 16th, Josh Ido further back. He was also out of the race. Quite a few cars unfortunately coming across, Alfie Butcher being one of them as well, and also the other Aston Martin. But what a race, Jack Kinnan. It was certainly a spicy affair. We witnessed everything. Again, 6 cars careering away in a massive fight for a race win. Another different winner, and for the first time it's Nicholas Longe.
It's fantastic. It seems strange to say Nicholas Longe has never, ever won a PSGL race. But, sorry, who got the prediction right? Oh, yeah, me, Nicholas Longe. What did I say? Pole and the win.
That's 2
and a
for
voice
2,
break
is
for
it not?
For good
you,
effect.
you got it. You got
That's
it.
2 for 2.
Yeah, qualifying
2 for
and
2.
the race. Dubs for Jack Kinnan, everybody. Fantastic. I mean, look, hey, brilliant race. I think
I'm never getting another one. I'm never getting another one again. That's it.
Do you know what I would do if I were you, Jack Kinnan? I'd buy a lottery ticket right now. Honest to God, that is now's the time.
Yeah,
now is the time. But yeah, incredible race, and I enjoyed certainly the battles that we had as well. Naturally, there's a lot of talk around driving standards. We've got to obviously discuss that. I think, Jack. I think again we saw a bit of overzealousness. I think from many of them, and I think there's going to be a few guys there who are going to be asking questions to themselves. Definitely some disappointing scenes out there.
There was, yeah. I think, and part of it, I would imagine, is there's so many cars on one part of the circuit at once. Sometimes it can't be avoided. But at the same time, we saw, if we can't focus too much on the negatives sometimes, because some of that racing up the front was phenomenal. Between especially Nicholas Longe, Jarno Opmeer, and particularly I would say Brendan Lee, Thomas Ronhaar, and Barry Nicholas early on. Some of that was tight, but brilliant to watch.
Yeah, it was. I'm pleased to say, folks, we got Nicholas Longe joining us now in the commentator's box. Nicholas, that is your very first PSGL race win. You must be absolutely delighted.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I mean, that's actually crazy to think about. I mean, I've had so many good races in WR, and I just never understood what was going on with PSGL, and I think today we broke the curse. I didn't even remember it was my first win. I just
well, neither did
someone
we.
told me a couple minutes ago.
I mean, we're so used to seeing you up at the front end. You've driven for great teams as well. It wasn't until Connor made it apparent in the live chat, turning around saying that this is going to be Nicholas Longe's first race win in PSGL. I was like, really? Wow. I mean, none of us would have ever expected it because of the career you've had. But it's always nice to get your first one, right? I mean, especially here on what many would consider, and I think everyone would, in fact, I certainly do, the top of league racing, the very precipice. Certainly someone like yourself who has been at the top of F1 esports for so many years, considered a team leader when you were at Renault, not to mention the work you put in when you were at Red Bull as well. Of course, now here this time at Ferrari, of course, we've seen the relationship between you and Barry Burman right from F1 22. It seems like it's going well. Ferrari in a good place. Barry is obviously a massive talent. You guys must have a lot of confidence because you're essentially taking the fight to Red Bull at this point.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think me and Barry are pretty much on fire at the moment. I think our pace and just our overall consistency throughout these first league races that we've done at the beginning of the game, we're always at the top there fighting for the wins and for the podium. And I don't think we can be much more confident in this, as we can see. Unlucky for Barry's race today, I think this strategy made it a bit hard for him to make up a bit of positions. But overall, I think we are feeling very, very well.
Yeah, definitely. You're in a great place. Certainly a lot of battling. And in terms of the Ferrari camp right now, we've seen over the years where they have taken on the likes of David Sinitsa. Of course, they claim to the F1 Esports Championship on that previous occasion. This seems, though, that for the very first time, they've got an able-bodied partnership with two drivers at the very top of their game at the moment. Do you see that as a major positive? Do you think this is the team taking the right steps at this point in their venture in F1 Esports?
Well, absolutely. I don't think they chose. I think they chose the best drivers to do it with. So we will see how things
humble,
unfold.
Nicholas.
Well, I'm gonna have a little bit of confidence.
Yeah,
Come on.
of course you can. Well, especially after winning that one, you do.
Yeah.
Just talk us through that last lap fight as well, because we have got Jarno here in the chat with us. But I'll ask you this question. It was a fantastic battle. We saw some great battles up at the front at Austria. We won't speak about everything else, but obviously up at the front end, it was great. And again, we witnessed the same thing again. 6 cars, all within the scrap for P1.
Yeah, I mean, as we saw since the game was released, that being second with the DRS is very powerful, but looks like in this track it's a bit more tricky. I mean, there's always obviously only one DRS zone here on the main straight, and so I was actually debating on the last few laps whether I wanted to be leading or not, and I was very doubtful or contemplating per se. But at the end, I decided that I think I had a little bit of race pace advantage over Jarno with those mediums. And I kept them behind for the whole stint, so I just felt comfortable where I was in clean air. And if I started driving in dirty air behind him, I think I would have gotten a bit out of my rhythm and maybe didn't have the best chance to overtake him. And the straight isn't too long, and I knew I had a little bit more ERS to play with than Jarno, so I decided to let's just stay in first and see if I can hold them off, and it worked, yeah.
Well, I tell you what, it really did do just that. And I want to say congratulations, Nicholas, and we wish you the very best for the remaining races. And obviously, a stellar run in F1 Esports. Well done.
Thank you very much, guys. I'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you, Nicholas. He is our 6th different race winner this season. Another man who's going to be chasing for his first this season is Jarno Ottmeer. But Jarno, that is podium number 4. That's not bad. And many would have actually thought that you would have successfully pulled that move off, but Nicholas just cut it off right at the very last moment.
He of course Suzuka's quite a short DRS straight, but I wanted to be behind going into the last lap. In the end, it didn't work, but you get some, you lose some. Although I've lost P1 for the past 4 races on the last lap.
I'm willing to put that down to bad luck, man. Honest to God.
Yeah, of course, some was maybe, of course, I think Brazil was definitely out of my hands, but there have definitely been some moments that I could have done better. But other than that, I think we're doing well. Suzuka usually is one of my weakest tracks together with Silverstone, and both times so far I've done well. So, I'm happy to just actually have the pace, even on those weaker tracks. Suzuka last year, I think I was out in Q2 in PSGL and out in Q1 in F1 Esports. So, I'm quite happy that I'm quite up to pace now. So.
Yeah, probably actually one of your finest qualifying runs this season, in fact, coming out of Suzuka this time around. And not only that, like I said, 4th podium this season. And I must say, the strategy call, stroke of genius as well. Just talk us through around that. Of course, starting, I think you were on lap 1, P5. You managed to turn it around straight away. I think you were net P2 leaving the pit lane.
Of course, on that out lap, both me and Barry had to push quite hard to make the undercut work. But yeah, you can see how tricky it is with tires towards the end, because Barry lost quite a few positions in that last lap. It is obviously more to it than just box earlier than the rest.
Yeah.
Making the right moves, making sure you defend well and have good race pace, because otherwise you just drop through the field as well. So, it worked well. But yeah, I think other strategies could have worked really well as well today, as you could see with Freddy doing the complete opposite and making it work. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just talking on that, I mean, you go through routines of time management and looking after the brakes and temperatures, things of that nature. But for those that perhaps don't understand it too much, what's been the biggest difference in terms of conservation, management of tyres between that of F1 22 and F1 23?
Well, F122 was mainly just about starting on the hards and then moving to the mediums at some point. So it was just really a one-sided strategy. And I think this year you can start soft, medium, hards and move on to a different tire, and it can work. As you can see today, you can do hard, medium, or hard, soft. It can all work, and it's all fast. But of course, you need to make the right moves at the right time to make it work. So.
Yeah, you certainly do, and it certainly did work for you as well. Like I said, fourth podium. Obviously, a win would be nice. Have you got any races picked out? Certainly, do you see that happening before the end of the PSGL season? Because you are knocking at that door.
Yeah, of course, I want to win. But if we finish P2 the rest of the season, we're very likely to win the championship, even though I missed 2 races. So, yeah, I'm a bit disappointed that I finished P2 again, but at the same time, I'm also kind of happy we finished P2 and once again closed the championship gap. But yeah, finishing P2 on one of my weaker tracks is, I think, very good. And yeah, I don't know actually the calendar from my head. I know we've got Mexico coming up,
yep,
which I really like, but yeah, that's very DRS related. So we will see how it goes.
Yeah, well, we'll look forward to seeing how you get on as well. Congratulations on your 4th podium, leveling now with Barry Burremand in terms of that accolade. So that's something you are leading in at the moment, but we'll wish you the very best for the remaining races.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jarno Opmeer, P2 on this occasion. Not quite the win he was chasing, Jack, but I think there's a case of a little bit of acceptance in a way, because I genuinely believe there is some bad luck intervening here, because there's not really anything wrong in what he's doing with the strategy. It's just the doors that would probably be open to him in the past just seem to be shut at the moment.
I think it's a show of what he's aiming for. He's aiming for perfection each time. P2 at four times in a row is an amazing result, but he wants, obviously, that he would have rather that was 4 wins in a row, but he's getting closer each time. That was the closest he's been so far. Side by side into turn 1, but Longay just did a fantastic job to keep him at bay through the first part of the corner. So I think it will come, but all that he'll be thinking about now is he has closed the gap in the championship. He's now down. The gap coming in here was 19 points. It's now down to 13. So he's brought that to within a race win, which is a bit, again, quite significant heading through. You can see how quickly things could change. Barry was up in second, or right behind him, and then loses 2 positions. All of a sudden, then you're back within a race win of him. So he's still very much in contention for this fight between himself and Barry. Barry's still leading the championship with that P5 finish. One person we want to mention is the returning Freddie Rasmussen back to form. That was fabulous to see him back there again.
Yeah, fantastic race, Jack. I mean, I think for him, to come back the way he did, and I alluded to the fact that he's been doing, obviously working with the likes of that of Joni Tormela, in the world of Renge Sport in Saudi Arabia, these drivers didn't have the chance to even race on the F1 game. They're so far behind everybody else up at the sharp end right now. So the fact that Freddie is showing that level of pace in only, a month of actually being on the game, I think is absolutely extraordinary. I think give him the time, I think he can certainly deliver something. And the fact that he's managed to come here and utilize an alternate strat that really did pay off. That initial run, I think, on the hard tyres was the catalyst to that result at the end. And he might have picked the softs, but he had the maturity to select those medium tyres and also managed to make them work for him.
He did. He stayed out for a long time on those hards, but the key point was him managing to not lose any positions in the DRS train on the hards. Didn't get past, didn't gain any either, but was enough to get himself into clean air, use the clean air to good effect, and then come out and side his way through the field and steal P4 at the very end. But we're expecting, as we do with most week's stewards, probably we expect some inquiries in the next few minutes, but you can keep up to date with on the socials especially. But you can expect it to be flashes this
I'm
week.
looking forward to Twitter already, Jack.
Absolutely, but I will say we saw flashes of the racing that we want to see up at the front end. It was mainly our veterans showing them how it's done.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. They're back again, and I would argue that despite Brendan not quite converting that pole position, still finishing on the podium, I think, is a huge result for him. So congratulations to him. But folks, I have to tell you, what a race, what drama. And I have to tell you, I want to say a special thank you to each and every single one of you for tuning in. You really do mean a lot to us here at PSGL. And if you would show your support, we'd really appreciate that too. Leave a like and also leave a subscribe to this channel. And make sure as well you check out PSGL sponsors, GT Omega, and now new to join us, Virage. If you fancy some sim racing gloves, make sure you check Virage out. Of course, a great company, lots of quality there as well. You might have seen their advert at the top of the broadcast. A new arrangement, obviously, with us here at PSGL. Great to have Virage on board, as well as GT Omega. Two very important partnerships here for this channel. Make sure you check those guys out too. If you want to check out PSGL more in depth, why not head across to social media on Twitter or on Instagram or even on TikTok at PremierSimGL. And also you can stay tuned in with all the latest news and the latest streams, of course, here on this YouTube channel. You'll see them on the page as well. If you want to check me out as well, you can check me, and you know, if you want to, anyway, at George Morgan TV on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you name it, I'm there. Jack Canan, share your social, please.
Absolutely. So if you want to get me on Twitter/X, whatever the hell it's called, it's at Jack C Combs. Sorry, I got my own social tag wrong. At Jack C Combs on Twitter with the 2 C's, and then you've got my Instagram, which is at Jack_Canan there. So if you want to keep up to date with the stewards' inquiries, you can follow me on Twitter.
Canan's your man. He knows stewarding like the back of his hand. You're going to be busy, Jack.
I think I'm going to be up late tonight by the sounds of it. So, yeah, I know many of you are interested to see the stewards' inquiries, who's lodged what. You know, it's always a talking point, so do keep up to date with that.
Yeah, and it definitely is more of a talking point here on this channel, so do not miss a broadcast. We will be talking about all those matters. But folks, this time around, Nicholas Longuet takes his very first PSGL race win in dramatic style, beating off a very, very good Jarno Opmeer. And Brendan Lee not quite able to convert the pole to a win, but another podium to his name. Can he go one better again? Can he take yet another race win? We've got Imola coming up next, folks. That is our race next week. Not forgetting as well, we've got a trip to Spa, Jeddah, and Mexico is our final race of the season. Make sure you stay tuned to PSGL, folks. We'll see you next time for yet more racing. We'll be heading to Emilia-Romagna. Do take care of yourselves. We'll see you soon. Goodbye.
He's got the inside up here, he's through on the left hand side, hooks the apex, gets on the power nicely, and that is job done. Jarno Opmeer now to the last couple of corners now, his finest drive, his greatest drive, and he's done it at the Circuit of the Americas. He returns to the top step of the podium. Once again, the ghost is back. Jarno Opmeer wins the US Grand Prix in a stunning Grand Prix.
Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my phone, she got